Hello and welcome to another fun, hopefully, night of Mahjong with the American Reaching Mahjong League. I will be one of your commentators tonight, Tucker, aka Ennui, and I am joined by Nathaniel, who is doing both director and commentator duty at the beginning of tonight. How are you doing, Nathaniel?
I'm doing well, Tucker. I know originally we had promised a Korak stream, but I was a little bit busy with a Mahjong tournament, so I'll be covering for at least a game or two, and hopefully we'll get some Korak later tonight.
Yeah, well, I am sure that he will hop on at some point. He'll need some way to vent whatever tilt he has accumulated by playing Mahjong himself.
It's just sort of an automatic thing. The more Mahjong you play, your tilt meter slowly rises, and you release
It's
it all
it's
by going to the commentary booth.
it's kind of like how if you've ever seen those audience meters that measure volume. It's just I imagine that as I'm playing. It's like I'm dealer, I call Ricci, I get chased, they Katsumo their Tonki weight, and then just like goes to the top. But this first A2 match is getting started here, and Kevin is our first dealer.
Kevin is the first dealer. To the right is Zilong. Across the table, Stanley, and to the left is Lucas. And this is technically, to the upper right of your screen, you can see it says round two. This is technically supposed to have been a round one matchup. They had to postpone their game, so playing it in the second round, and we'll catch up to everybody else by the end of this set of four. I think they might be playing, or at least attempting to play all four tonight. Looking at these hands, my eyes are drawn across the table to Stanley's hand, where we see 5 pairs already. Do you think that will be Chitoy or Toy Toy by the end of this?
Having passed up that 8 so, I feel like this is going to end up being Chitoy. Having the East is nice since that's a Yakuhai, but the 6 Mon would make me a little suspicious of trying to make this a Toy Toy.
Well, the green dragon here is the Dora, and one is just drawn by Lucas to the left, who will hang on to it for now. Also, Dealer has one in hand, but looking to the right, it is Ishanten there for it's along attempting to make Richinomi, it looks like so far. Don't see a direct path for upgrading the value there, except for perhaps drawing a 6 mon and replacing the 9 mon to make Tanya. Now,
Draws
perfect
another
Ishanten.
17 even could go to if you get Tempai. Well, no, there's no way to really go for Sananko either because you're going to end up either with a Rhiannon as your final weight or going for it earlier. We do see across the table Stanley taking that potential Toy Toy path now.
Ooh, the 6 mon is drawn by Zilong, so we might have a Tanyao shift indeed.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for Stanley, I think, to keep up with the closed hands at the table, especially with Kevin getting a good Rion Confill there with the 8 Mon. Now, a very nice Ishanten.
Yeah, if you draw the Chuso, then you have the Nobetan 3-6 way, but instead pairs up the 3-so and wants to draw around the Pinzu shape, can get a Yanmen shape for almost any middle Pinzu tile. Of course, the 3 and the 6 wouldn't give you that shape, but anything around that would. 2, 4, 5, 7.
Yeah, the Nobitan's probably my favorite shape in all of Mahjong. It just has so much flexibility. But Kevin here, I think the main thing pushing this is the greed for the Dora, because you could have held on to 1-3-3 so and had a little bit more efficiency, but with no Dora yet cut, really doesn't want to let go of it.
True, and with one call across the table, that could be waiting on a dragon pair even. No indication that hand's Tempai, but also not revealing a lot to the rest of the table either. Oh, here's Tempai. We see a Ricci. Again, can't see the Dora.
Ricci.
Also, do you want to guarantee Tanya with the 8 pin or the wider weight with a 7 pin discard?
I would chooses the Shanpon, which let's see, is there any sort of Ricci without any sort of Ricci trap? Ricci, God, I am all over today. Without any sort of Suji trap, it's just so easy for 2 7-pin and 2 3-mon to be used. I mean, 3s and 7s are, in a lot of ways, the most useful tiles. to have, period.
Hmm.
So I feel like I really would have preferred the Ryanman, even though
Oh
I
well,
mean
all the
all the
nines are
90 are
gone.
gone.
So you
All the
are
90 are gone, so you're guaranteed Tanya anyway.
well, but it's only, let's see, 1-6, so only
Two
three
16.
outs versus four technically from Zilong's point of view.
Yeah, that's true. Only two 16 out even because both
Oh yeah,
Lucas and Stanley have discarded one each. So I guess that makes a little bit more sense.
yeah. This
But
is just the wider weight, surprisingly. And they were all
I
four in
want
the wall until that, or sorry, yeah, they all four were in the wall until that seven was drawn.
now we have a Nobiton wait for Kevin, but you
If
have to discard the live Dora
or
into
you
the
could wait on
Riki.
Doratanki, and that's what he ends up doing.
Yeah, there we go.
A seven, so I'm not sure that that was safe, but besides, ooh, there's the last Dora drawn across the way, and so this will head towards Yukioku unless Kevin draws the winning tile on Hote. Will he discard?
Dom.
It does come out. Riichi Tanya Hote.
And as it turns out, the Dora was the safer discard there. Although I definitely see the reticence.
Yeah, first dealership. You want to retain it if at all possible. Unfortunately, that led to 52 points exchanging hands from Kevin to Zilong, who is now the dealer and has a reasonable starting hand for Pinfu or Ipeco. Could even incorporate a 2-pin Dora. If you hang on to that 3-pin long enough, you might draw around it. To the right, oh, that looks a little bit messier. I'm wondering if Chanta or 123 Sanchoku is possible. No, it just throws away the 3 mon, so making the best of, trying to make the best of what looks like a kind of sloppy hand. Can still think about Chanta though. Across the way, Lucas has pretty average starting hand. We'll start to eliminate some of these terminal tiles and try to work this towards a normal hand. And then to the left, well, that looks all right. You have Ipeco chance, but the 1-2 penchant is a bit weak. You might end up discarding that in favor of building around the 4-6-8 Diankan. I did see a
Although you are going to hold on to it for now, not quite having enough shapes.
right. And even discarded the 9 so, replacing that with a 6 so could shift this into Tanya fairly easily.
Kind of trade Tanyao for kind of trade Ipeco for a Tanyao. If you're not able to stay closed.
We saw dealer discard the 6 mon as they approached Tempai, they were Ishanten, but unfortunately backfired with the 7 mon draw, of course. You could never predict these things. Thought it was better to keep the 3-pin as a floater, because that's close to Dora. Unfortunately has drawn around that discarded Manzu shape, and it's always sad to see a completed sequence in your discards.
Yeah, I wonder, would you have considered keeping 3-pin and 6 mon and just ditching the 1-3 mon?
I would have considered it, but I probably would have played it the same way. As it is, the 2 mon ended up getting drawn, so we do find Riichi Pinfu with potential Ipeco for Zilong if you draw the 4 so. But 4-7 is the weight right now. We've got 4 left in the wall. 3 of them being the 4 so itself, so very reasonable chances for a Mankan Sumo.
Assuming no one deals in first. I mean, Stanley has so many safe tiles, it seems unlikely that Stanley would be forced to deal in at any point. Right now, the 7 so being used in Kevin's hand, so...
Ooh, we just saw Tempai, actually, for Kevin. Decides to Dama the 3 mon Kanchan.
How do you feel about the Dama there?
Well, it's kind of difficult. If you're going to fight, I don't hate the Riichi, but it's just Riichi Tanyao. I don't hate the Riichi there. As it is, we find Sumo. It's not the big one. We don't hit Ura anyway, so it wouldn't have been Mangan, but a nice pickup for Zilong. I don't know. Do you think you take the Riichi there with Riichi Tanyao? I guess you hit Sumo, you hit an Ura, you've got a Mangan.
I probably wouldn't have. Just since I already discarded the 6 mon earlier in the hand. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't have felt I wouldn't have felt good taking that Riichi when I've kind of already forced myself into kind of a worse situation.
Yeah, I mean, the Riichi, you sort of set up a Suji trap, but the problem is the dealer's already gone Riichi as well, and oh, dealer had dropped the 6 as well, so 3 would have been Suji to both. I actually am feeling even more comfortable with the Ricci there. It was an interesting trap.
Here though, dealer with a very good look at 345 Sanshoku,
Mm.
according to how that Nobitan 2 3 4 5 shape in the peen works out. And that does incorporate the Dora 4 peen. It would be very easy for Zolong to use two of them, and does.
There you go. Well, this could be expensive then. Oh,
Would you consider opening this hand now and just trying to rush a Tanyao, or
yeah.
would you bank on some of the good shapes you have to help you get to Tenpai closed before anyone else?
I would not put that out of the realm of possibility, especially, Tanya Dora 2 as dealer is 5,800. That's totally fine. And if you can add Sanchoku on top of that, work your way towards it. And if you get it, it's 12k, so why not?
Ooh, what do you discard here?
You either drop from the 9-8 penchant or the 9 so. I kind of like the 9 so here first, but this also makes sense.
9 so keeping good closed options
Yeah.
alive?
I guess you're lacking a pair, aren't you? So it almost doesn't matter which one comes out first, but I think you still want to drop one of the terminal tiles first so that you leave yourself calling options. Now that the 3-pin is starting to disappear, you're thinking about calling even more. If the last 3-pin comes out, or the 6-pin even.
I feel like I would have discarded 8-peen there, so that if you just that if I draw any even tile in the Sozu, I'm at least Ishanten.
I think the 1 so discard indicates that Zolong is really thinking about opening for Tanya. Although, if you just draw another Dora, now you're Ishanten. Pulling across the table for Lucas, who was trying to shut this down with Hatsu only.
And then Tenpai as well for Kevin, who's waiting on the 3-peen. For Tanyao, Dora 1.
Sumo. Oh, but there's the Sumo for Lucas. So we'll shut down the big hand from Zolong, and also Kevin's hand as well. Still not a bad dealership. And we'll move forward. Alright, looking at this hand, Stanley, I would say this isn't... I would rate this as an above average dealer Hypai. What would you say?
I would say so as well. I mean, you have Ariankon, like a complex Kanchan pair, and a complete shape in the Sozu, and you already have the Dora 2-peen. Yeah, that feels pretty nice to me.
There are all sorts of, like, anytime you have a Yaku and a Dora, I'm feeling very happy. And you can make Tanya, you can make 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku, you can make a number of things, but the West call across the table implies that Kevin is trying to make a cheaper hand. And it looks like it'll just be West only for the time being. There is a slight chance that maybe it turns into a Toy, but there's a very slight chance. You have all the shapes you need elsewhere. To the left, Zolong also has pulled in a bunch of pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, and starts to call. Could this be a Toy, end up as a Toy perhaps?
It could. I would more expect that to turn into Honitsu.
Yeah, Honitsu, a distinct possibility. You would have to drop one of your pairs, but okay, we'll keep drawing in the Pinzu and just commits to it right away. You could have thought about dropping the North and the 7-9 and making, hedging Toy and Honitsu at the same time, but just decides to commit to it right from the get-go.
Oh, and now Stanley has drawn an Anko of the 8-peen. This is not... No, this is Ishanten. No, it's not Ishanten.
Yeah, not
We're
quite.
still having pair problems.
That's the issue, the lack of a pair, yeah.
But it's an incredibly good 2-Shanten. Now we have Tenpai across the table for Kevin waiting on the 2-so for Sha Nomi.
Ooh, but Tenpai for Zolong on the left. This is Honitsu Yakuhai Dora, so that's a Mangan.
I mean, if you can draw another 1-peen, you'd have Yakuhai Dora Chanta.
Ooh, that's fancy. And Stanley drops the 6, probably thinking about, well, the fact that he's Ishanten. 2, 3, 4 Sancho is a little bit harder to make, so you just really want to grab your Tenpai and declare Ricci. Do we see Kevin across the table break Tenpai after drawing a 5-pin?
We do indeed. Does not want to discard the 5-peen into the Honitsu on the left. Is marking it as a Honitsu. And after that 3-peen draw, is considering that 5-peen to be a lot more dangerous. I said
And
draw, but I meant 3-peen drop.
discard, right. And of course, if the read for Kevin is that, so long as Tempai, that read is correct. Now Lucas has to think about whether or not he wants to drop the Haku. And decides
It's kind
against
of
it.
interesting that just no Haku have been drawn yet. I feel like that's very weird for a Dragon Child entering the third row.
We saw Zilong decline the con there, and will Stanley reveal to Zilong that his weight is completely dead? Maybe upon reaching Tempai.
Now, I have a question. Like, do you think so? If we see Stanley call con, right, a closed con on the 8-peen, and then you see Zilong drop the 9-peen, does everyone else read that the weight must have been the 8-peen?
I think so, because why else are you holding the 9 when there are 3 across the table?
Come.
There's the
Here
con
we
on
go.
Tempai. Unfortunately, because of the call, would only have been able to win on Rinshan there, and did not draw the winning tile, so it's Tempai, but with no Yaku here.
And is waiting on the 4-so and 7-so, which is Furiton.
Ooh, Kevin got back into Tempai across the way, winning 3-6, and that's not Furiton.
Oh, and the new Dora was the 3-peen.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. So that makes Zilong's hand a guaranteed Hanuman, but impossible to win right now. Oh,
And with another Haku draw, we see that Kevin once again abandoning Tempai.
yeah. Stanley can now win as there is Tanyao as the out. Does not find the winning tile, and I doubt the other 2 players will be willing to drop it. So we'll find. That was an exciting way to reach Ryukyoku. Stanley and Zilong will be the 2 players who grab the 1,500 points. We'll get a dealer repeat, but wow, that hand had a lot of twists and turns, and Stanley having all the winning tiles for Zilong really. I imagine when you see those flip over, your heart just sinks. You're like, oh, I'm never winning this hand now.
Yeah, I mean, there was some incredibly interesting maneuvering there. Especially, like, once we saw that first Haku come into Lucas's hand, we could kind of see that was going to become an issue. And as it turns out, the 2 people who had the most threatening Tempais, the dealer and the Honitsu, never drew a Haku. So it continued to look dangerous to both Lucas and Kevin. And Stanley has a hand here that I would open up at first possible chance.
Absolutely, with the 2-door. Well, now you've got an Isha 10 that cannot be opened, so not willing to drop the Haku yet. Hanging on to a save tile here, interestingly. The other hands look kind of scary. To the right, we have Lucas, who might end up in Shinitsu even. And then to the left, we have potential Chanta, although there's a door in hand, and perhaps for that reason, Zilong decides to drop the 1-pin instead of the 4-pin. Play a little bit more efficient.
I'm really not as safe of a player as I am. I'm really not a fan of holding on to the Haku here as dealer and 2 Dora. Like, you're holding it in part because you know you're going to want to push your hand against everything, but at the same time, that 7-peen especially would have given you so much versatility.
Well, would have been Tempai here if you had managed to keep the 5, so unfortunately, just Ishanten, but it's a very wide one. Perhaps even better this way because you can draw into a pin for Tempai. We saw a Tempai to the left from Zilong, who it has a pair weight, wants to find something better before declaring Richi. Could even find Itsu at this point.
And then discard one of the Wests.
Exactly.
You could end up Pinfu if you drew into Tempai with the 8-mon.
Yeah, that would give a 4-7 weight, that's right. So we'll see how long Zilong decides to hold this. Might even reach Tonki on the east. That's a pretty good weight. And does decide to do that. Richi,
the once cut honor.
Yeah, once cut honor. It is, technically a Yakuhai for Zilong, but once cut is very difficult to use. And Lucas just has to keep pushing. Calls Chi on the 1, so finds Tempai for Chinitsu on the 6-9. So I know you like when you're waiting on a tile that you have a Ponov.
リーチ
Yeah, the 9 so weight is one that I am a huge fan of. And now we have Ricci Pinfu Dora 3 for Stanley waiting on 3 so 6 so.
Sozu is just death, but that so doesn't deal in. Six would be such a terrible discard right now.
ツモ
Oh, but Zilong finds the Tsumo instead. Ricci Tsumo Dora 1, will we find Ura for Mangan? It is not there, but that still is a huge pickup. The wrong draw, and that could have been a big payout, but instead, just extends the lead. Over 50k already is Zilong. We move over to Lucas's dealership. Starts with a bunch of dragons here. Pair of Haku, pair of Hatsu, and a Chun.
Home.
But the rest of the hand shapes are really good. I wonder how hard Lucas is thinking about Shulsangan or Daisangan here.
If you want first,
Home.
Here's your decision. All right, drop 6-7. So Shulsangan at the least.
and I mean honestly right now, without having a pair, it's kind of easy to float because you don't feel like you truly have to make the decision yet.
That's true. Yeah, you still need a pair, so really anything will be good enough. And right now to the other players it looks like Honitsu, but that's not actually entirely the case.
Yeah, this is why I think it's bad to make too many snap judgments early in a hand. Like, you expect Lucas probably doesn't need Pinsu, but even with these discards, with 2 calls so early, Lucas could have freaking anything. Like, you might want to be scared of Honitsu, but... Decision point. Okay, let's take it to Tenpai. 6-mon, 9-mon. Makes sense. I mean, you already have 2 Han, and it's going to come right out, yeah.
Well, just the 2900, but that puts Lucas in a pretty reasonable second place here with chances to grab first. And ooh, 2 Dora. Oh, great high pie as well. So back to back, great starting hands for Lucas here. We'll see if he can convert this one as well. This could be even more expensive than the last. To the right, outside tiles. Perhaps this turns into Chanta. Across the table, average starting hand, needs to draw a little bit better. And to the left, you have that south pair and reasonable shapes outside. Is that Ishanten already? It looks like it. It is. Ideal draw here would be 7 pin. You can discard the 2-mon to clear Ricci and the 4-7 Pinfu weight.
I always miss Pinfu with Souths. Just because for half the game, South is a Yakuhai.
Right.
I always seem to screw that one up. With West and North, it's a lot easier for me to recognize that Pinfu is brewing. And Lucas had such a beautiful hand and just keeps drawing pairs of his Ryanman shapes.
Yeah, that's really awkward. You know, at the beginning you're thinking maybe I can make 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku or 7, 8, 9 Sanshoku.
Home.
But when you pair everything up, it's really hard to use.
I probably would have tossed 1 2-pin there, personally.
Yeah, that is looking a little bit weak, but this way you get to use more blocks, I guess.
Home.
Oh, just opening it up. All right, we're going to make Tanya Door 2 or 3. We saw to the right Kevin call for what it will presumably be a Chanta, although it could also include the south.
And could get Sanshoku.
Great, so Chanta Sanshoku. Oh, but there's only 1 1-pin left.
There's 1 1-pin left.
リーチ
And there's that Ricci on the 7-pin drive. Well, it took 5 turns, but Stanley finally got there. 4-7 is the weight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the wall. And yeah, Kevin's got to give this one up. Well, that's
Your
interesting.
weight's just so bad.
I guess the 2-pin isn't giving it up. If you're giving it up, you'd play something safe like the 2-mon or perhaps the south.
Well, that's an Atazuke Tenpai, but
Yeah.
doesn't want to discard the 3-pin. That is in the shape with the 5-pin, so a reasonable. Although now you see the 3-pin come out, so you can discard it. Although
Now you got a tile just as dangerous. Oh, there's the Tsumo anyway. So ooh, Tura makes that Mangan. Lucas had found Tenpai as well as dealer, but was not able to pull the win tile first. And so that's a huge win for Stanley that will claim second place away from Lucas. And Lucas eats the majority of the hit there and falls to 24-7. Still in third, though, as we move into the south round.
That also puts Stanley above 30K, which, as we are halfway through the match now, is going to start becoming more of a concern.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin starts with a Dora, but no confirmed Yaku just yet. Looks like it's going to turn to Reach Yellow. There's an outside chance at Itsu in the Manzu. Forget that.
That 2-mon draw certainly helped, although doesn't
Boom.
want it, just tosses the 1-mon right back.
Yeah, Kevin's idea is probably to pair up one of the... Oh, well, there you go. Pair up one of the Yakuhai and make a hand that way. We did see Lucas to the left calling the Chun, just wants to move things forward. It kind of makes sense given that the current dealer is your direct points competition in terms of what you can fall to. So you don't want to let that fourth place player have a dealer repeat. However, Kevin does get the Chun.
So discards the 5th shape and holds onto the Dora instead.
Oh, I see. Wanting to make more than just 1,500. And you need a pair, I guess. So the Chuso's as good as any other pair. You do lose the tile acceptance of the 7-mon, but that's a bit of a weak block anyway.
And the 8-mon, although...
Of course.
Shrug.
Chi.
Taking the Chi. Oh, that was a very nice draw for Kevin. Now you can incorporate the Dora even if you draw the 3-so, and then you would have a Tonki and the Pin, although on the right, Zilong entering a Dama Tenpai waiting on the 3-pin. Cannot win on Ron currently.
And this is something that is not unusual to see for Zilong, who, as we see another call to the left,
Chi.
Lucas finding Tenpai in the 3-6 pin. But Zilong, if he doesn't have enough value, tends to not take the Richi. We'll wait to draw a better weight or draw into more value before declaring it.
I wonder if we see the 3-pin deal in right here with that Dora draw.
It feels like it, and there it goes. Well, that's exactly what Lucas wanted. Win a fast hand, move the dealership along, and as a bonus, you hit it off of the person who had the best chance of surpassing you, or the only person who could surpass you, given the point situation. So we move forward to South 2. It's along the dealer... A reasonable high pie here. You can easily incorporate a Dora draw if you were to grab one. The rest of the hand needs some work though. Not very good shapes outside of that Dora shape and then the Yankan and the Manzu. To the right though, this looks a little bit better, even a backbone for an Itsu in the Sozu. And outside chance at Sanchoku, something like 7, 8, 9. Across the way, this looks like a very standard hand for Richi Dora 1 or Richi Pinfu Dora. Up to the left, we've got Kevin. This is kind of interesting because you want to make more than just the Haku Yakuhai call here. So maybe you turn this to Honitsu.
Has been edging that way, but hasn't thrown away any big shapes to do it. The pair of 1-so has stayed in hand, but the 1-mon and the 9-so were pretty quickly cut in favor of the loose honors.
Yeah, the 3-so is maybe the biggest indicator so far, because that is, of course, a tile near the Dora. And now that you've drawn another Pinzu tile, the commitment is made. The 1-so pair will come out, and this will be a Honitsu.
Yeah, there are now 5 blocks for the Honitsu, so you don't really need the 1-so pair anymore. It is not helping you efficiency-wise, particularly.
Okay, first call made, alerting the table to exactly what's going on, as it's the West. West is not Yakuhai for Kevin, so the rest of the table looking at that and thinking, something might be going on here. Perhaps another Yakuhai? And that is the case, but it's also Honitsu.
Zilong is Ishanten now. Although, I don't know that there's a way for them to end up on a good weight.
Well,
that helps.
That certainly does. We see the Haku call from Kevin as well. So this Honitsu hand is Ishanten. And interesting.
Ooh, tosses the 5-mon.
Yeah, prefers the Yankan shape. I suppose you're not going to be able to open, so the pwn ability of the 5-mon pair is a little bit less of a concern.
Another pair for Kevin could actually decide to go for Honitsu Toy Toy now, but just discards the 8-pin since it's a part of the Ryanman shape.
It's interesting.
It doesn't need the help as much.
Yeah, Kevin had passed the 5-pin earlier. Oh, I wonder if Zilong was thinking about turning this into Honitsu.
It's certainly keeping the option open.
Yeah, now that you found the Yamen shape, though, it seems a little bit less likely. You'll have an ideal shape no matter what you draw. And so now this is a very efficient Ishanten for the dealer. Oh, and there's Tenpai for Kevin. So 6.
Waiting on 6-pin, 9-pin.
It will be a Mongon either way. Oh, 3-pin comes out. That's a little bit of a push given 2 calls and then a late 5-pin discard. 4-pin as well as a push. Will Lucas do the same?
ロン
And
Yeah, nobody
unfortunately,
really respecting that Honitsu at all. I guess it's not in the Dora suit.
yeah,
So you're not
that is
overly
true.
concerned?
It is only 3,900, but still, that was absolutely the ideal person for Kevin to hit, as now there's a really tight race here for third. What do you do with this?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And a pair? All
And
right.
a pair. I would definitely float Kokoshi here. I wouldn't expect to be able to win anything else. The South being Yakuhai certainly helps. The first couple draws are going to kind of determine it here.
What makes it a little bit awkward is, for one, it's your dealer. You don't want to be going for Kokoshi on your dealer turn. And the second thing is you've got a South pair. So if you draw anything else, like you could call and keep calling your shapes until you win. Because the South will be a Yaku here. So after some thought, decided Kokoshi was the best route.
Yeah,
And-
Kokoshi for sure now.
Yeah. So 2 tiles away from Tenpai for dealer. The rest of the hands look a lot more normal. To the right, we've got a Ricci possible here with no Dora, but can accept one. Across the table, it looks like Tanyao or Ricci with 1 Dora. And then to the left, there's a Dora as well. Potential 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku.
Kevin thought about calling that for a second. Is Ishanten now?
I saw 1 more honor in Stanley's hand and realized it was just a backup pair. So nothing terribly exciting. Lucas, after drawing that 6-pin, decides I can shift this in the direction of Tanyao. And now if you're Stanley, you've drawn 3 pairs and you're thinking, is Kokoshi the right play? Or maybe Chitoi, maybe Honroto, maybe Chanta?
Let's see. 1 South already cut. 2 Hatsu already cut. It's going to be... I don't think Honroto is... And 2 Pei already cut. So
Yeah,
Honroto's out.
Yeah, Chanta,
7
not
odds nice
likely.
bill for Zhelang. Oh, Ishanten now for Stanley.
So we're missing the 9-pin and the Haku. 9-pin Haku for this Ishanten. 9-pin all on the wall. And the Haku is twice cut, so 2 in the wall. Lots of tiles out there.
Yeah, with all of the 9-pin in the wall, I mean, drawing a 9-pin is almost... I mean, obviously drawing Haku gives the most, like, numbers-wise best chance for Stanley to win, but I feel like the 9-pin's what you really want to draw because the Haku is very likely to come out. Unless you Ricci. But...
Can anybody stop
Gee.
this before it comes to fruition? Lucas starts to open the hand, recognizing that Tanyao tiles are coming out, and being the player to the right of that Kokoshi, you can build a Tanyao more easily. It's along here, Ishanten now.
And that's 2 really good Kanchan fills for Zhulang. 5P not helpful.
Or pin not either, but that would allow
Gee.
Kevin to call. Grabs the Tenpai, waiting on 4-7 pin.
Oh, and that 7-pin could pretty easily come out of Zolong's hand.
As the
no,
pair
not anymore.
now.
With the
Yeah.
With the discard of the 8-pin.
There was a potential earlier, but now that that's locked up as the pair, there aren't many left in the wall. 1 of each. We have yet to
16
see a
tiles left in the
9-pin.
wall. We still haven't seen any 9-pin.
And none of the Haku have come out either. Oh, that's a Dora, so that'll be a chief for Lucas. Finds Tenpai on 6, 9, and then the 8 so. 6, 9 pin and the 8 so. Of course, the 9 pin won't win here.
A fun Atazuke.
Oh, these are more pairs, not the ones you want, though. And at this point, Stanley's thinking, all right, somebody's got an Anko of the 9-pin, but they're just all in the wall. There's still 8 draws left. Okay, there's a Haku finally. It comes out. There's a 9-pin. That comes out and will not deal in. Oh, and then the 8-so is drawn, and that will deal in. Presumably.
Yeah,
Oh no, the
I
foodie,
don't-
temporary foodie 10.
it's temporary for a 10. You're right. Oh my god.
Stanley got saved.
Although I don't understand, why is Stanley holding on to the 7-mon? It's Genbutsu against everyone. Like, what is scaring Stanley about the 7-mon?
Hote, I guess? It's a safe Hote discard. Oh no, the North
But I mean,
comes out.
you
Yeah.
mean just holding it for? But I mean, if
Yeah,
you
you
deal
had,
with it on
had
the
plenty of
8-so,
other
it doesn't
tiles for
necessarily
that,
be on a
so.
safe Ulto discard.
Yeah, that is a good point. Maybe just missed that it was, 7-mon against 2 Tanyao hands looks kind of dangerous, but it was actually safe if you looked at the discards. And wow, so temporary Foodie 10, and then drawing the 9-pin and being forced to find permanent Foodie 10 was Navitas, and for that reason was unable to win when Zilong dropped the 9-pin as well. So I guess he wouldn't have been able to win on that anyway, but just
Couldn't
both
win on the 8-so drop by Stanley.
right, just unable to find the right tiles there. Quite exciting, and unfortunately for Stanley, not able to find Tempai before the Haku came out. All of those winning tiles just at the end of the wall and drawn into the wrong player's hands.
And not reaching Tempai was absolutely huge for Stanley there, now below 30k.
Well, that is critical as we enter South 4. Yeah, you would need to pick up 1,300, or 1,000 with a Homba in order to reclaim a positive finish, but DeLong across the table wants to just put an end to this game, calls the second time, is Tempai with a 2-5-mon wait for South Dora 2. 3,900.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of hard for anybody other than Zilong to win this one. I mean, just such an early good Tempai.
Oh, but Dealer kind of working their way there. His hand is Ishan 10. To the right, also Ishan 10. So players are fighting. Navitas decides to stay headless here. Could have dropped the 8-9 block. But the 6-9 wasn't looking that much better, I guess. Perhaps was the thought. We saw the Haku call to the left, but that 5-mon looking dangerous in that hand.
It is just totally abandoned there. Doesn't keep the 9-pin, wants to keep Tanyao and Chitoy possibilities, I suppose Kevin does. And there's the 5-pin, so
A little bit of a backfire there. Of course, Kevin probably very focused on this.
I would have been fine with Richie Pinfu Honda. I would have been fine with if I'm Kevin.
Yeah, that is enough to take third, minimum. Oh, this is trouble for Lucas. Will he take the Nobitan? Does. Recognizes the 8-9 is weak.
リーチ
And we see the Ricci from Kevin here. Oh, but just in time for that Ricci stick to get claimed by Zilong. So we have that non-door 2 come into play, 3,900 plus the Ricci stick. 1,000, 2,000 plus the Ricci stick plus the Homba. And a huge first place as the remaining players are all below 30,000. So Zilong here, the only player who will be positive.
Yeah, that's going to launch Zilong into first for sure.
So Stanley, second place, very small negative, negative 2.4. Lucas, the negative 13.8 in third. Kevin, negative 25.9 in fourth. Let me see if we've got the scores are updating automatically, or maybe we'll have to do that manually.
Yeah, it's very interesting looking at A2 here. There's such a massive jump from 11th to 12th.
Yeah, we just got that automatic update in. And yeah, there is a bit of a gap there, 11 to 12. Still a little bit early days, though, in this season. I wonder how that's played out. Of course, we see Zilong at the top now with 4 first place and 0 fourth places. That's certainly the way to do it. And Lucas, after that third, still with a very respectable plus 50. And the other two players attempting to climb back over the positives, just out of range right now. Of course, we have more games from this table to be played, and I think one has just started, so a couple minutes before that one gets... before the delay allows that to be shown.
Yeah. And because of shifting league sizes to try and make everything just a little bit more workable whenever someone needs to take a hiatus, uh, there are 7 promotion spots, as we see here on the left, into A1. So all the way down to, I mean, almost everybody who's positive in the promotion zone at this point, and everybody pretty tight on the heels there, of course, being so early on in the season.
Yeah, I guess when you have half of your division promoting, it makes sense that, you know, most of the positive players will be able to promote. Of course, the gaps should widen a little bit as the season moves on, but I guess it really depends. It is not necessarily guaranteed. We've seen that in some of the other divisions in the past, but also we've seen some very tight score lines throughout an entire season. So perhaps as a start, make sure you're positive, and then work from there. See how the rest of the division is sort of shaking out. All right. We've got game number 2 of this table about to begin. It'll be Lucas as the first dealer, Kevin to the right in the south seat, Stanley across the table as west, and Zilong to the left in north.
And Navitas is actually streaming this game as well from his own perspective. If anybody wants to see that, or perhaps go back and see what he may or may not have been saying with the temporary Furitin or the ASO drop.
Oh, very good point. Yeah, it's always interesting to watch the games from each of the players' perspectives. And you said it was Lucas who was streaming?
So yes, it is Lucas, our first dealer here.
Feel free to also check it out. It is, I'm sure it'll be quite entertaining. And as the first dealer, this is a reasonable starting hand. You've got a door, you've got, some shapes. Just got to get rid of some honors and draw a few better tiles, and you'll be set. Now the 7 Mon draw allows you to incorporate another Dora. Let's see who else. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that this hand is actually a very good example of a hand that does not need to be forced into Honitsu. I feel like a lot of players. I mean, if you need points, go ahead. You did have a lot of Monzu and a lot of isolated honors that could grow, but I feel like especially beginning players or people who play a lot of Sanma, where Honitsu is a little bit easier, will tend to force hands like that. Even when you have 2 blocks outside of the Honitsu blocks, will force a Honitsu when it's not really all that efficient and end up keeping themselves from being able to win.
Yeah, and I would be tempted a little bit to even just drop the 1-2 Penchant in the So, because it's a weaker shape, and maybe once that goes, I can pair up an honor and turn it into Honitsu. I would have missed out on the 3 So draw. And here we have Ishanten already for Lucas, headless Ishanten for Ricci, Dora 2, but also Pinfu is possible. And, well, could take this Ricci right here as dealer. Why not? Ricci, Dora 2, waiting on that 3 Mon, all 3 Mon in hand. So we'll see if anyone is willing to discard it here. To the right, Kevin, well, drops the 2. Unwilling to drop the 5 Mon, I guess. Across the table, Stanley chasing with a Champong Wait, West, and 1 So. And the West is being held by Zilong on the left. Will he defend? And can he afford to hang on to that? It is Shompai right now. It has not been discarded. Oh, but just Sumo. That's the motto of the league. Just Sumo. Ricci, Sumo, and the West Wind will be 1,000, 2,000 for 4,000 total. A little bit unfortunate. As dealer, you hit that Ricci button, you think, all right, I'll just either win this, or I'll at least get people to fold and enter Ryukyoku, collect some points, and go again. But that immediate chase when you've got a bad weight You get a little bit of a sinking feeling in your stomach. So probably not too upset to see that it was a fairly cheap hand, all things considered, and that you didn't deal in. It was a Tsumo instead. As it
And
is. Oh, go ahead.
it is important to not assume that everyone will fold. That's a bad habit that I know I have. Like just because you are a dealer does not mean that other people aren't holding Dora or just really like their hands and aren't going to push against you.
Absolutely. Even though you have, it's a little bit more, less likely that they have something worth pushing if you have two of the Dora in Akanashi where there's no red fives. But especially in ladder, when there are red fives, maybe you can see the Dora, but they have all the red fives and they think their hand's worth fighting for. Or they've got, Sanchoku, Dora, Tanya, Bihu, you never know what an opponent has.
The hands at this table right now are just bunkers.
Yeah, Ishanten already for dealer who interestingly chose to discard one of the pairs. Might end up retaining the shape as there's a chance at some type of Sanshoku, but nope, just drops the 7 so back. It's sort of
why not drop the 1-2 mon?
Yeah, I mean you could have even dropped that I think on the previous decision point and targeted some sort of 9 so west Shampoo. I guess each of those was once cut, so a little bit weaker. Perhaps that was the reason why that was not chosen. But even here, I like the 7-9 shape. I just like the chance of Sanshoku. I'm a Sanshoku addict. But there is some rhyme to this. Let's see. We've got other great hands here on the left. Lucas has a bunch of Tanya tiles and Adora. And Adora's once cut here. The Haku has come out, but Lucas still hoping to pair that up. Maybe has a lot of pairs. If you grab a second Haku, maybe you think Chitoi, or you just drop a different pair and work your way towards a different normal hand. A similar situation across the table for Zolong, who's got a lone Dora just hanging out. But that hand could use a pair, I suppose. So it's not much of a sacrifice to hold on to it, outside of the chance that someone ends up waiting on it later on.
We've seen a lot. I mean, with these Dora Yakuhai tiles, we've seen a lot of resistance to I'm sorry. Words. Hold on. Let me reset. Okay. We've seen a lot of reticence to discarding those Dora Yakuhai from these players specifically. Especially like Kevin held on to one for forever in one of the first hands of the last Hanchan, which ended up stunting his hand significantly. Lucas, though, getting rid of it now at the beginning of the third row with that really, really good Pinzu draw.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I wonder if it is with an optimistic, sort of aggressive mindset. I'm going to draw a pair. I'm going to get a massive hand. Or if it's a more defensive, I don't want to let anybody else at the table have this, so I'm just going to hold on to it for forever sort of concept. I think after the first one came out and not seeing the other two Haku come out makes me feel that it's more of an offensive mindset than a defensive one. Because once that first one comes out, you can pretty safely drop yours. Here we see Kevin making a call for Keita, not trying to win this hand necessarily, unless you manage to win on Hote.
That's Tenpai for Lucas.
Chooses the wider shape here. 1-4 pin, and then the 3 mon. Of course, would be Tanya on the 3 mon or the 4 pin. Oh, breaks Tenpai on the Hatsu, which had not come out yet, I don't think. There's a pair to the right in Stanley's hand, and so Lucas will actually be the only one Tenpai here.
Man, that was an incredibly defensive play from dealer. I mean, if someone had been open, I feel like I would have understood that a little bit more. I mean, I do love defensive play, but as dealer and nobody open, I feel, except for yourself, I feel like dropping the Hatsu into concealed, non-reached hands isn't really all that bad. I mean, you might deal in every now and then on that drop, but I feel like in general that's going to be an okay tile to on your last drop.
It's probably not going to be too expensive either if you haven't declared Ricci, as all the Dora were discarded. So, yeah, an interesting play. Very defensive-minded for sure. But I have a feeling that Stanley is not going to be defensive-minded at all with his hand.
Oh, absolutely not. You have a Dora, you've got the double East.
Would be extremely eager to call that. We see one to the left in Kevin's hand. We'll see how long that holds out. Might even find just Tempai before it comes out. Ishan Tunnel ready for dealer with a very wide weight. 2-5 Mon, 4-7 pin in the East as well. Would all do it.
Home.
There it is.
So double tone Dora, 5800.
Although we do see all of the 7-peen already out and 3 of the 4-peen still in the wall.
So if you're going to sumo, it's going to be on a 4-pin. If you're going to roll, it's going to be on a 7-pin. I guess the 4-pin could come out from another hand, but it seems like the rest of them can use it pretty well. Just looking around at the other table to see who is close. Across the table, Lucas is Ishan. Okay, maybe not Ishan 10, but moving in that direction. Probably wants to make an Itsu, but it seems unlikely that will come to fruition.
That's Ishan 10.
Oh, you're right. It is.
Like
yeah,
2-4.
I should just trust my instinct. Yeah, we see a call to the left from Kevin. So this will be a Tanyao with a Dora. I guess it's sufficient to keep that 3 in the off chance you get a 4, but throws it back.
Another 6 Mon for Zulong.
2 uncles now. Oh, and there's a 4. A bit of a punish for not dropping the 6 to last turn, and just throws it right back. And so that will be a dealing. Stanley will pick up the 5800. And we'll get an extra 300 from the home bot and a dealer repeat. Nice start for Stanley. And a reasonable high pie again. Lots of outside shapes. You've got 7-9 in all 3 suits, as well as a 2-3 and a 1-3 in the Mon and Pin, respectively. So perhaps thinking about Chanta Junchan business, or just the 7-8-9 Sanshoku. To the right, we see what could be a very fast Ricci, although you have the East pair as well, so you could call and open this hand for something a little cheaper. Across the table, West pair as well means this hand is openable. A Dora 5 so in hand. Although you've got a lot of tile swords at Pin Honitsu, probably not going to move in that direction given the Dora that you already have in hand. And then to the left, we've got, well, this is going to be tough to put together, I think. The shapes are there, but awkward.
We had a question from last hand that I feel like you have a better chance of knowing than me, Nathaniel. That 2-2-2-4 Monzu shape that Kevin had, or was it Stanley last hand? That they had last hand. If that's your final weight, what do you call that?
2-2-2-4. I've heard people call that a, well, it's a Kanchan and a Tanki, right?
Yep.
So I've heard people call that a Kantan. I don't use that type of terminology myself, but I don't know if that's the standard or not, but I've heard that be used.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. That was my instinct. I wanted to clarify that since there was some confusion in the chat about it, and it seemed, like a good thing to answer. Stanley, though, very close to this Sanshoku Junchan.
I would love to see it. And drawing this 8 so hurts so much. I didn't mind the 7 so cut earlier, but it's kind of painful to redraw that into that Ipeco and then wish you had it back. In fact, drops the 3-pin instead of just throwing the 8 back. So really angling towards redrawing the 7. So I guess there's still 2 in the wall. It's definitely possible.
2 of the 2-peen had been cut, or I guess that 2-peen was cut after the 3-peen. But with the 2-peen already cut and 3 1-peen gone, so you don't expect that 1-peen to develop into your pair like the 1-so can, I feel like the 1-3 is a good shape to get rid of.
Well, this is kind of interesting now, just dropping the 8 so back and retaining these honor tiles, perhaps in preparation for what just happened here. A Ricci from Kevin on the left. This is just Richidora 1 waiting on the 8 pin. And wow, that hand was the first to get the Tenpai? That's extremely surprising to me. I was not paying attention to how that was developing, but I just remember that one seemed like the worst hand from the high pie that we saw.
Stanley's in a good position to chase here, either open or closed, really.
Yeah, could draw 6-9, so obviously would love the 9. And the 8 pin as well would be a good draw here.
That one so's one chance.
Ooh.
Doesn't like it as much as the Shah, though.
Well, Lucas draws around the Dora, and this is Tenpai. Yes, this is Tenpai. There are 4 6-pin in there. So this is a 3-6 so wait. It's Huri-ten. So cannot Roan. Oh, just drops the Dora. As it is Genbutsu and aiming for Honitsu instead. But Stanley finds Tenpai now. Could have confirmed the Sanshoku by dropping the 9-pin. Or sorry, 9 so. But thought the 1 was slightly safer given the early 2 so cut and the fact that there are all 4 2 so are visible.
That also would have been Furitan with the early 4 so discard.
Oh, that's correct as well. So dodges Huri-ten this way. That's probably the more likely reason why that was cut. Oh, and just throws the reach stick in now.
With 4 tiles left.
Let's go. The con from Lucas is very interesting. He was probably hoping for Rinshan after drawing back into that Sozu shape. Did not manage to find it, and I think you just got to fold here. It's too tough against a dealer Ricci with a con out. And we'll safely find Ryukyoku. It is Stanley and Kevin.
Oh my god. The drip on that Ricci. The last possible tile you're allowed to call Ricci on and just tossing it out there.
Yeah, Stanley.
This is another 9 terminal on our hand here.
Oh. It looks a little bit more like Honitsu this time, so it has a def... Okay. Well, what are you going to do?
With 10, I feel like you gotta go Kokoshi. So early?
I mean, 2 of the East have been cut, but you have the East. Yeah, let's go. I mean, you have to make the decision right there and then. You're either going for it or you're not. And Stanley says, last time I got close, this time I'm going to make it. And
Oh,
we'll
that's
see.
right. It was Stanley last time, too. Although what does make you concerned... I mean, even if you had gone Honitsu here, it would have been a very slow Honitsu, not having any of the honors paired up. And you assume when you are dealt so many of the terminals and honors that everyone else has very quick hands. Like, on the left, like, Kevin's hand is lightning fast. Lucas also has a very good hand, although surprisingly it's because it's holding so many honors. It has an Anko of the pay, which is desperately needed for Stanley right here.
Each.
There's
Ooh.
Tenpai.
So Ricci, Nomi, just waiting on the 3-6 so. Looks like 2 left in the wall. First row Ricci, not a ton of value here. You would have loved to have an Anko of the Chun instead of the North. But at such a fast Ricci puts tons of pressure on the rest of the table, and you're hoping to flip an Ura-san.
I mean, this is crazy too. There's only 1 tile left in the wall for Lucas. There's 1 6-0. All of the 3-0 are in hand, and 3 of the 6-0 are in hand.
And Stanley's Kokoshi attempt paying off in the sense that it's got plenty of safe tiles to discard. I'm wondering if Toulon will Ricci if they find Tenpai, say on the 5. So I think if you have the 2 so, Ricci Dora might be worth it. But the 5, Ricci Nomi, you might not have anything to
said that he's reticent to... Wow, I'm using that word a lot today. Reticent to call Ricci on not very valuable hands. I wonder if that still holds when you're chasing.
Right. The other player's weak. They've dropped a Dora, so it's not like you're going to deal into Ricci Dora 3 or something by dropping the Dora yourself. So I think that puts a little bit more incentive in the chase, especially if you don't think you've got tiles that you can fold with. Now,
I do think he's got a lot of good tiles. I mean, the 9-pin are no chance.
Full Kabe with the 8-pin discarded. If you're Lucas, you're like, no, that one mon is supposed to be underneath the one so in the dead wall. Those are now gone. Is that a chance?
That last 6-0 still in the wall somewhere.
I think Zilong wants to fight this. Just hasn't drawn into Tempai just yet. The one mon impossible to be drawn here. The 4 mon would do it as well as, of course, the 2/5. Hatsu
It's not
cut.
so bad.
Decides it's not worth it, though. At this point, you're kind of wondering what the weight could possibly be. We've gone through so many tiles. Maybe a 1-out honor makes sense.
But as it turns out, it's just horribly bad luck. And there's the final 6-0, and it's not coming out.
So Ryukyoku, the weight is revealed to everyone. They're like, what? That didn't win? Cool. And Navitas moves over 30,000 rather with that 3,000 pickup.
Yeah, that's a perfectly fine result for Lucas. Now there's what, 4,200 points in the middle?
Yeah, that is a huge pot. Everyone will be looking at that and licking their chops. Zilong here probably thinking, how can I make Tanyao? To the right, Lucas wondering, how fast can I call that Hatsu when it's discarded?
Yeah, Lucas with the only person, and the answer is immediately. Lucas with the only person with a very callable hand here. Zilong has to get rid of so many honors. Kevin also has a lot of terminal shapes to get rid of now, especially with that being a complete shape. That's rough. Lucas has a massive advantage. And then the 7-so, what a fill.
Yeah, at this point, if you're Kevin, you're probably thinking, I just need to call for an open Sanshoku here, 7, 8, 9, and just make it that way. But getting the 8 mon might be a little bit tricky, given that that's the Dora. So far, we haven't seen any of those Dora tiles just yet. Oh, that was pair number 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe could have thought for a second about Chitoy, but that's very slow. Typically slow.
Oh, Lucas just continuing to draw good so tiles.
Yeah, a little bit of a tough decision here. You're picking your floater. Chooses to retain the 2-so over the 7-pin. In the meantime, Zilong is kind of working their way to a 3-4-5 Sanshoku. That's definitely a possibility here. You have all the blocks you need for Tempai, and the 3-4-5 Sanshoku, and even Tanyao as well now. If a 6-pin comes out, I think that would be an insta-call.
In which direction? What would you attach that 6-pin to?
A 7-8 shape. Force the Tanyao side of things, and then give yourself options to make a 3-4-5 Sanshoku still. It is a little bit nice to be able to call Pon later if you do call the 4-5 shape, but I think I want to greed for the value there, even though we know the real reward is in the middle of the table right now. Oh, and look at that. Kevin did draw the 8 mon and the 8 pin. So this hand is Ishan 10 for the Sancho. Could even call here. I would. And he does. Tempai now on the 8-so for Sanshoku Dora 1.
Which is twice cut.
And once retained in Lucas's hand. So definitely locked up. But there's still one available to you. And you never know. All it takes is one.
Yeah, to everyone else, that's just going to look like some sort of Tanyao hand.
Yeah,
more than likely.
These cards are really awkward to try to read, but we see Ricci to the left. Stanley can't wait around for the 5, 6, 7 Sancho. Just throws the Ricci stick out there, waiting for the 6-so, and we see they're all in hand.
And this is a beautiful Ishanten for Zilong.
It's quite interesting. There's pressure from everybody to fight this Ricci. You don't want to let Stanley win those points. You want those points yourself. So we might see more aggression than usual here. Unfortunately, that probably means that those 6-so are going to be retained in hand. At least that's unfortunate if you're in Stanley's seat. Oh, but Lucas sort of backs away with that 6 mon discard.
Yeah, I mean, if you are Lucas here, it does kind of feel like, I mean, you were Ishanten ages ago, and you just have not been able to get anything anywhere.
Yeah, the Ricci looks so scary. From the rest of the table's perspective, you don't realize that it's actually completely dead here. Oh, the
No.
8 will
but
deal
that's
in.
gonna deal
It was Genbutsu to the Ricci, and the Sanshoku pulls it away.
a 7,200, 2,000 point hand. I love it.
Well, big win for Kevin there. That actually moves him all the way up to second, and Stanley is the only player over 30k as we move into South 1.
But the score's incredibly tight despite that.
Absolutely. Anybody can
Oh.
move over 30k with one hand.
Look, this 456 Sanshoku just falling right into Lucas's lap here.
Well, apparently Sanshoku is the way to win. Oh, that's the wrong side. Throw it back.
Get rid of that. Who needs it?
This is there's some hesitation there thinking about whether to retain the one pin because that is the door for this round, and you could use a pair. However, decides just to play max efficiency, and this is a perfect Ishantem.
Yeah, I really see no reason to greed the Dora there with so many possibilities in this hand already.
As it is, you have very good chances at making Tanyao by discarding the Dora. Looking around the table, across the way, that is Ishantem. And could incorporate the Dora, or just really any tile in the Pinzu shape would have the chance at Tanyao. This is Tempai, but it's a Kanchan. And decides not to declare Ricci as a result. Unfortunately, you don't have all of those sticks in the middle to claim.
But this is a Dama with so much ability to upgrade. A 1, 3, or let's see, a 1 peen, a 3 peen, a 4 peen, all upgrades for that hand.
And even drawing the 2 or 5 pin is kind of sideways. You end up on a Shampong weight that can upgrade. Chooses not to retain the 4, just stay Tempai here. We see Ishanten to the right as well.
And Lucas probably pretty frustrated once again. I mean, was dealt just the absolutely most beautiful hand there and has gotten no closer to Tempai since turn 3.
7 straight useless draws. And we'll see Stanley take this Ricci on the Shampong. 3 Mon, 2 pin. 3 tiles from his perspective, but we can see there's actually only 1 left in the wall. Perhaps hoping that with all of the, the first 4 non-honor tiles being Monzu, that the Monzu will be...
cheese this.
At this point, I think you have to...
Pom.
I'll cause the Pole instead. So waiting on the... just the 7. All the 4s are gone. But the 7 is Suji, so... Ooh, could even switch to Tanki here. Does not decide to do that. This is quite interesting.
I would like that slightly more if the 4 Mon was still left. It's because the 4 Mon's Genbutsu.
Exactly. With with all the 4 Mons visible to the table, the lower Monzu might be looking safe. We might see a 3 come out. Unfortunately, 2 of those 3s are in Kevin's hand, and Kevin looks like he's got something worth fighting with. Does not call the Khan, instead just discards one of the 2 Mon. And can call into Tempai here for Tanyao. Or go for Sananko, maybe?
Lucas abandoned Tempai on drawing the 1 peen.
Dora, definitely a dangerous discard against a Ricci. And depending on how the sand came together, it could have been the winning tile, actually. Stanley was just a bit unfortunate to not draw into that Yamen shape. Good awareness from Lucas. And one more chance to draw, but there are no tiles to draw. And so we'll enter Ryukyoku. Kevin did manage to find Tempai after having drawn the 8 Mon. And we'll also pull in 1500 in addition to Stanley. So we will move on to South 2.
And we now have 2 players above 30k.
Oh my, look at this high-pie. Dealer's hands. They are looking spicy. We'll see if this one actually manages to win. The draws cooperate beyond the initial 14.
We have seen at this table the dealers having a lot of issues with winning, no matter how good their hands are.
Yeah, it's really not a matter of, hand construction. Your hand's pretty much constructed. It's just, can you pull in the tile that you need?
Zulong denying the South Pawn.
It's interesting. We'll have the opportunity to call the second, should it be drawn. Really rewarded for that, now drawing the Anko of the 9, so... And we'll not think about Honitsu anymore. Instead, Riichi Non seems like a reasonable possibility. Also, there's a chance to end up on Dorotanki.
リーチ
Riichi Haku for Kevin, waiting on the 1-mon, 4-mon.
Oh my, they're gone. They're all in hand. What? Lucas is holding all the winning tiles. If Lucas runs out of safety, he might decide to drop the 1-mon.
Oh my god. This is the second time someone's called a first row Riichi on a Rhiannon way, and all of the tiles have already been just completely gone.
This is Tempai for Zulong as well.
But it's not chasing. Again, doesn't have any value, as you pointed out earlier.
Would just be Riichi Nomi on the 4-7 pin. Might throw the stick in here now that it's revealed. Once you drop the 8, it looks like a push. It is a push. And so is, it's gonna throw that stick out there and hope for the best. And now, is this Tempai for Lucas? It's technically Tempai on the 1-4. But you can see 6 of your winning tiles, 5 in your own hand. Oh, if you switch the shot to the Nobetan here, you deal in.
ドン
So Lucas had no out there, no matter what he did, outside of just miraculously folding.
Oh! Aura for the dealer Mongon. It really wasn't that expensive a hand. It would have just been to Han, but Aura just coming in and really cutting Lucas off the knees.
Wow, huge pull for Kevin. And this is going to switch things around. Kevin's in first place, 5,000 points plus some change ahead of Stanley to the right, and also another good high pie. 4 pairs, but you can make some type of Ipeko in the Pinzu, or you can draw the Dora Tuso and use that as well. To the right, this looks fairly normal. 3 pairs, maybe 1 pair too many, but we'll see how that hand progresses. I mean, the shapes look awkward enough that I'm kind of thinking about Chitoi pretty early on, even though I'm not necessarily committing to it right away.
We do have the Ishanten for Chitoi now.
Oh, for the dealer.
For the dealer, yes.
This is kind of exciting. I wonder if you draw, 4, 5, or 6, if you just Dama. Or if you draw the 4 or 6, you take the Riichi on the Tsuji Trap 5.
Yeah, I would love a Nakasuji Riichi here. Especially in A2, all of these players are going to recognize Nakasuji.
Yeah, in A2, players know what Nakasuji is. Sometimes when you're in the ladder room and you've set up that trap and no one's discarding it, like, come on, haven't y'all ever heard of Nakasuji? I find myself saying that a lot. Across the table, that hand's looking kind of interesting.
That hand is also Ishanten for Chitoi. Not too far away from Rion Peiko either.
You could drop the 3, your Tempai, and the Dora 2. Dama. So this is Chitoi, Tanyao, Dora 2, Mongon. But if you draw the 5 pin or the 8 pin, do you go for the Riichi, Pinfu, Tanyao, Rion Peiko chance?
Yeah,
or just
I mean, if I draw 5 pin or an 8 pin, I'm
sumo!
Sumo!
Just this is ridiculous. This is going to be a Hanuman for Zulong, and this is going to change everything. Doesn't quite claim, doesn't in fact change the positions at all. Kevin is still first, Stanley's still second, Zulong still third, but things have just gotten so exciting here in South 3.
Right, and we are so tight. I mean, less than 3,000 points separating third from first, and Lucas opening incredibly early on seat wins, having no dealership left, and also no Dora, and being a about 25,000 points behind.
It's got to be so tilting to have played a fairly normal game and just gotten burned a little bit by the bad luck. Everyone has gotten their hand, and you haven't gotten yours. But perhaps trying to salvage a little bit out of this game, not let things get out of hand. You'd like to drag somebody else below 30k with you so that you don't pay the full 20 UMA points. You can pay negative 15 instead if, or pay 15 instead if another person is below 30k with you.
It's going to be very hard to race Stanley on this hand, though. You have the advantage that you're already open and you have a complete shape. But Stanley here just waiting on, just biding his time for the Chun or the Hatsu to come out. There's the Chun, so now Ishan 10 for Stanley. Can still call the Hatsu.
Chooses the 6-mon discard that allows you to call the Hatsu and retain the 2/4/6 shape in the So. Ooh, that's another Dora. And we'll see the 6 So come out as a result. Well, now you're ready to pawn anything. Ooh, very interesting hand to the right. There's 3 uncles already. This is Suanko Ishanten.
That's Tenpai. It'd be Shampon 4-mon, 5-mon?
And the 8, I believe. It's like an Entotsu shape.
The 8 would also do it. What a weird
just
hand.
Sumo. Will Heat Sumo. It's San Uncle this way.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to take it. You
Yeah.
can't go further here. Everything's so close that even if it wasn't San Anko, you would at the very least enter second. But this is going to, in fact, give Zilong first. And is the final dealer, which is kind of awkward, but...
Perhaps just
you
taking a
still have a
moment.
little bit of control.
Yeah, perhaps just taking a moment to regret not hitting the button.
Saying a silent moment of silence as you sob a little to yourself and very slowly hit Sumo.
But we can all understand that was Suanko Ishanten. You Dama, you draw Suanko Tenpai after, or if you had gone reach and drawn Suanko Tenpai, what would have been Suanko Tenpai, you'd be a little bit sad. And in this situation, the other painful moment happened, but you can't complain too much about grabbing first place with a chance to increase the lead a little bit with that Haku pair.
And you probably do want to create a little bit of separation. At current, if everybody were Tenpai and you were not, 3,900 is not enough for Ryokuku. You know what? I'm just gonna not even go to that. Exhaustive draw to be safe for you.
Yeah, I think well, it's a 4,000 swing, right? So
Yeah.
would be at 36, or would be at... Oh, I see Kevin across the table. I was looking to the left. Yeah, that would not be enough.
Yeah, it's Kevin's. Kevin could win by 100 points in a couple of different situations. And if either Kevin is the only person Tenpai and nobody else is Tenpai, or if everybody is Tenpai and Zulong is the only person not Tenpai, those would both give Kevin first place. Zulong, though, with this very callable hand, is going to take it. It's now Ishanten, just has to fill a Kanchan somewhere. Stanley on the left did start out with that Uncle of Souths, but just has not been able to improve the hand much.
We see across the table, Kevin also Ishanten can get into Tenpai a number of ways. And to the right, Lucas aiming for the Honitsu here, but Tenpai across the table, it's a Shampo, not the weight you're looking for, but it could still win. It's awkward, especially because the 5 and 6 So are in the middle of the Sozu suit, and it's also near Dora. Incredibly hard to win, but if you draw a Dora yourself, you can incorporate it. Awkwardly, but you can incorporate it. And
Lucas trying to make something over there.
yeah. I mean, if you can finish this with a Mangan, you'd be pretty pleased.
I mean, that's Ishanten for Honitsu Chitoi.
It is, actually.
So Ricci there, that would... Even that's not enough to drag Stanley underneath 30k on Sumo.
Well, how about Suanko?
Yeah, Suanko will do it, I think.
We need the 6 or the 7 or the 2. We can see the 6s are gone. There's 1 7 left in the wall, and both of the 2s are still in there as well. So there is a chance. Oh, but, well, Suanko's too hard. Tanya will end it all. And this will not be enough, I don't think, to change the positioning here. Zilong retains the first place. Kevin confirms second place with that sumo, plus 13 for Kevin. And then Stanley, with the benefit of being over 30,000, despite a third place, will finish in the positives as well, plus 3 there. And it's Lucas who got the unfortunate Ura bad luck and will find a negative 41.3 in this second game of the set.
God, and Zulong though. I mean, this is five wins out of 6 Hanchan now.
Incredible. Definitely was one of the top players in the B1 division in the past season. Easily made it out of that division, and well, doing extremely well here in A2 as well. All right. Well, with 2 games in the books, what are you thinking? Should we take a little bit of a break before we switch to A1?
Yes, let's take a small break. They have not started their third game yet. It is uncertain whether they will at all, so this probably is a great time to shift over.
Well, it looks like they did, in fact, just start their game as you were speaking. So, in about
A1 did, specifically.
A1, yes. A1 just started, so we'll have a game within 5 minutes, likely, assuming we do switch over there. So we'll take a break, talk about things, maybe do some commentary maneuvering, and we'll be right back.
Oh, welcome back. We are going to be covering A1 now. This table featuring the names will take a second to be renewed, but this table is featuring Huang, Simon, Amy, and Jeremy. And I am now joined by another A1 participant, Korak. How are you doing, Korak?
Well, I've been better. I was doing the E Championship for WRC and moved a lot and went nowhere, which tends to happen.
Yeah, I those those sorts of competitions always seem to just be you're really in the hand of luck, even more so than with normal mahjong, which is kind of frightening to say.
Yeah, consecutive six Han Chan, best score. So you can even throw 20 or 30 if you're going complete degeneracy. But some of us have jobs and can't start at the beginning of all this stuff. So, regardless, though, we're going to have a good A1 match here. It was very interesting coming into this match. The very bottom of A1 were actually the two champions, Eric and Jeremy. And that's where we are right now because Huang had a monster game here, keeping Reynolds under 30K. We're going to start off. Dealer has a pretty nice starting end here. Tanya, maybe even Chinitsu, floating Dora, Tanya, maybe Peiko on the right. Is that Rian Shanten, but a really wide one, I think. Oh, no, you have floaters. It's a pretty nice hand altogether. Just not much value except for the Dora, and that's generally all you need to have value. Across the way, pretty standard Pinfu hand. Shapes aren't great, but you're fine with it. And on the left, pretty standard Pinfu hand. A bit too many of those honor floaters you want to get rid of. Maybe distant Itsu in Mon, but again, okay hand.
Yeah, the dealer's hand has only gotten better. Oh, and now has
Oh my
incorporated the
goodness.
Dora. What a great draw. What do you discard there?
7 so. I would just cut the 7 so and go for the Peiko. I don't like the 5 Mon because you've given up your extra value here. I understand the idea of taking the wider Tempai, but you're not actually extending your Ishan 10. You're accepting things like 8 so to improve to a better Ishan 10. So I think you're actually
Well,
losing value doing it this way.
well, an 8 so is actually pretty risky as you would end up for a
Yeet.
10.
Exactly. Okay, ended up in the same place anyway, so it doesn't matter. This will be Ricci, Pinfu, Dora waiting on 4-7, and there's one of the 4s drawn on the left. There are 4 outs left. Well, now 3, and that 4-pin doesn't really fit into that hand, but I can't imagine you're going to push against the other Ricci that
Sumo.
far off. Oh, well, just Sumo. Ricci, Apatsu, Sumo, Pinfu, Dora.
What a way to start here for dealer. Can any Ura be found? No, but the dealer Mongon and East 1-0, you're perfectly willing to take.
Yeah,
Oh, and
Simon
another
jumping.
great hand.
Yeah, another pretty good hand here. Tanyawi, Peiko. Gonna be hard to use Dora, maybe if you pull in the Penchon. But pretty good hand. Well, that definitely helps. Now those floaters don't even look particularly relevant to the hand. On the right, we have an Itsu, maybe even a Chinitsu. I like that hand a lot more. Although with that 7-pin, all of a sudden the dealer hand is looking even better. That's kind of crazy. Across the way, 789 Sanchuku. But you could just go for Pinfu Dora 2. Already Ishan 10 for it. Ricci Dora 2, or Ricci Pinfu Dora 2. And on the left, decent hand with the Yaku High, Tone, and Pei, but just seems slower than everyone else. Like that, across the way, Ricci, Pinfu, Dora 2. Waiting on 1-4, so there are 8 in the wall. You can even call that if you want. Uh-oh. I don't think it's going to come out here, but I think that has to come out eventually.
Yeah, and as it turns out, calling Chi on that 4-pin would have kind of saved Simon.
Regardless, there's the deal on Ricci, Pinfu, Dora 2. The Aura, although 1 Aura wouldn't have mattered, but we've now brought a nice little split. 2 players around 34K for first, and 2 players at 26K tied for third. Dealer has mediocre shapes. I can go Tanya. That's a nice fill-in. But you have the Ryonkon, too many pairs. It feels like a Tanya hand. On the right, pretty standard Pinfu. That's very nice. Not too much value. Across the way, 2 Chun Dora. So that's just a call and go hand. Great shapes other than that. And on the left, I don't know, 789 Sanshoku, 678 Sanshoku. You're looking for some sort of Sanshoku, or if you want any value out of that hand. Could just be Tanya, though, depending on what comes in.
Amy improving the shape, so looks like Amy has a bit of a head start here. No one else has drawn that Dora Chun, though, so we don't know whether they're going to hold on to it and kind of choke out her hand. There's one
The
for
Forso
Huang.
for the Forso for there's going to be a
Boom.
call, instant call. I no even reason to mess around with that. Now I do not like the 2-mon cut there because the 2-pin floater. If you were going to draw a 3, you have a much more flexible Tonki. Okay, well we end up in the same place anyway, so it doesn't matter. This is Chun Dora 3 waiting on 1 Forso. We see all the 4s and only one of the 1s, so 3 outs left. But this could come out from Jeremy at any time.
Yeah, and a one-so would not fit into anyone's hand. So if someone draws a one-so, we might expect a deal in, according to how late in the hand we've gone.
Well, even here you have the Karagiri. Now you do send out a bit of information telling everyone you're very likely Tempai with a good weight by doing this Karagiri, because now you've shown a 2-4 pin. So maybe not the information you're intending to send out.
So you would prefer the Sumo Giri?
I
Oh,
would
there's
definitely Sumagiri that one. And that 7, I think that's just a bit of a distraction. That one I don't mind as much because that strongly suggests it was a shift around that area. Ooh, interesting. We're getting towards Itsu there on the right. But of course, the big story is the Mangan Tempai.
Oh, that Forso now in the middle of a Ryoncon for Simon. That's going to make it a little bit harder for it to come out.
Jeremy could go Chitoy and is now Ishan 10 for Chitoy Tanyao.
Ooh, but there's the one-so.
Good dodge by that 8-mon. Very good dodge. Probably wondering, wait, how's this getting late? And again, when you see all those Tadashi late, you're thinking that has to be Tempai. So if you have something to push, great, but this hand really wasn't there. With your Ishanten for Chitoy Tanyao, that just isn't much. Now, if you build towards Suanko, on the other hand, this gets pushed every time.
Yeah, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for Jeremy, there's not really enough time to build for Suwanko here. Only 14 tiles left.
Yeah, that 7-pin is absolutely a fold. Maybe a backdoor Chi Toy, but that's a fold. Good discipline holding that one so.
Boom.
And now we have Tempai for Huang on the right, waiting on the 3-pin and 4-pin. That is Tanyao, so can win.
And, well, there are no outs left. Because the 4-pin would be Genbutsu, but it's in the hand of Amy, and I can't imagine that's ever coming out. Pretty wide Ishanten now on the left, and we'll take it. Ooh, there's another 1.
So Jeremy could actually still get Tempai here.
Yes, drawing the 2-so or 3-pin would be Tempai, just haven't got the 3-mon, which is now Suji. But we just have 2 players, Tempai. The monster hand for Amy to begin with does not finish, largely because Jeremy did hold those 1-so, and well done there. But we move to East 3. And dealer has Tanya hand, floating Dora. You have that annoying Penchon, but this is not a good hand, but it's not a bad hand. On the right, we have Hatsu pair and decent shapes otherwise. Feels slow and cheap, but I think he's going to call and go here. That seems to be the play. I definitely cut the 8-mon here. These shapes are just terrible. Instead, goes ahead and says, well, we'll float the Dora indicator. So even got a Dora, get some value out of it. But the difference between 1,000 and 2,000 just isn't that big.
Yeah, check out Jeremy's hand next here.
Let's look at Jeremy on the left. That is an annoying shape. You have the 3 Dora, which is great, but you also have that overlap on the 3, 4, 6, 9, 6, 7, both needing the 5-mon. And we've seen 1 discarded.
It is Ishanten. For context for players watching, how much does that overlap compared to, say, a normal hand without overlap destroy your efficiency?
Well, so just do the math here. Ryanman's going to have 16 tiles. If you have Ryanman, and then an extra one, you're only going to have 12 tiles. Now, admittedly, if you draw that 5, you're going to have a much wider weight in Tempai, but it's always important to get to Tempai first for the obvious reason that anyone can deal into you once you're in Tempai. Until you're in Tempai, anyone can throw whatever the heck they want.
And so here, do you like that move then of discarding the 3-mon, setting the 4-mon as pair, and taking the perfect Ishanten?
Absolutely. That's definitely the way you play this. And
Riichi.
rewarded immediately for winning on the 5-8, which is actually a pretty bad weight. We see 3 8s and 1 5 visible to the players, and another 3 5 mon in the hands. So this is actually a hell weight waiting on the 8 mon Dora indicator.
A hell weight for the purposes of sumo, at least.
Yes. Honestly, though, I'm not really thinking the 5 mon's going to come out from anyone at this point.
Yeah, especially since no one's going to be able to build an incredibly valuable hand that would push them to want to push, as they can't have the Dora.
Yes, and that's always something you have to consider is when you have the Dora, it means the others don't, especially in Akanashi. In Akaari, you can always be surprised at the, oh, wait, there's Tanya with 3 red Dora. But in Akanashi, if you see 3 of them, there's only 1 left. And we know that that came out from the dealer early, so unless you're building Riichi, Pinfu, Tanyao, Sanshoku, that's going to be the only way you're going to get value for this. If you see a call for Tempai here on the right, would be Hatsunomi waiting on 4-7 pin. There are 4 left.
Yeah, and Amy kind of just, let's see.
Sumo.
Have any
Oh,
of
there's the last one. Pulls the 8-mon. Riichi, Sumo, Dora 3. Iniora will be Hanemon. Doesn't get it, but still. Big Mongon there for Jeremy.
absolutely massive, and that's going to be enough to put Jeremy in first, even.
Yeah, close game. Amy's a little bit behind here because, of course, everyone else has hit some big hands. And starts out as dealer here. Hand isn't great. It's not terrible. You have the overlap on the 7-mon needed. You also have possible Itsu. Now even maybe a 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku in the distance. On the right, we have pretty standard Pinfu shapes. Going to be hard to make anything else out of that. Across the way, 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku. You'd have Dora floating. Maybe a very distant Junchan, depending on how greedy you want to be. I think it's just a pretty standard hand. And on the left, I don't know. You have 2 Dora and non-pair. I think you just sell out for the Honitsu here.
I would not be surprised to see Huang especially going for a Honitsu. Oh,
Ooh,
yeah, after the
yeah,
17
definitely, yeah. Especially since you can pawn that 2-pin, and then the one's going to be very isolated for everyone. Of course, we know Jeremy has the last 2, but you may think they're on the wall at that point.
Still kind of an awkward hand for Amy here. What would be the... How would you want to grow this hand if you're Amy?
If I'm Amy, I want 8-pin or 9-pin Dora. Alternatively, something in middle so I can convert to Itsu. That is not the So tile I'm looking for, but it does give you Tanyao.
Well, and we see Huang on the left calling the Chi on the 9-pin, which is the kind of call that I have seen you advise before. But what do you think about the East discard as opposed to the 5-mon?
I'm definitely getting rid of that 5-mon. There's no reason to have it around. Oh my goodness, look at that hand. That you can call so much there. And the question is, how much did Jeremy put the squeeze down? Because you could see the 2-pin come out right here.
Yeah, Jeremy's probably making that
That's
decision.
an easy pawn, yeah.
I imagine that's the last pin tile Jeremy discards.
Well, the question is going to be, when does the South come out? Because there
No
are
one
still
has
both
an
of those in the wall, and I can't... Oh, that's 3. Yeah, okay, holds that back, says this hand is not worth pushing. This is getting a little scary. And similarly, Amy could just throw the 7-pin here and go for the Tanyao. Seems to be keeping at least the option open for now.
Oh, the 6.
Ooh, big 6 draw. But you're afraid of having to throw the 2 and the 4, because now you've seen that overflow 1-pin.
Yeah, so then would you hedge towards discarding a 5-mon, 6-mon?
If forced to, yeah. If I draw the Peiko, then maybe I just jam it. Until then, you're just going to kind of float, see if you get Tanya. Oh, that's an annoying draw. Having just cut the 9, so you can't really pull that in. And is that... That's not quite a Chi toy on the right, but very interesting shapes here. Could cut 9-mon, 9-mon.
Well, it would be... Are there enough 8-mon for a Rian Peiko to form for Simon on the right? Oh, but the 4-pin comes out!
Chi.
Yeah, you have to call the 5. I definitely like that one. It feels so scary having to jam that 2. But with the 4 call, the 2 call, it feels very safe after having the 5 come out.
So 5, let's see, 5 tiles not visible to Amy here, although we see 2 more. So 3 left in the wall for Amy, and then no 9-pin left, but both of the Souths.
Yeah, in the
For
South, you
Fawn.
don't necessarily even think they're particularly dangerous here, although you should be getting a little suspicious when you're getting this late and no one's thrown any of them. Of course, oh, well, that's the end of that.
4
Hey, Tanya will end it all as that monstrous potential Hanemon is shut down at the dealer Tanya for 1500. But that's why you call and make that play, is exactly to shut it down. And Deer here has Hatsu pair. You'd love to go Chant with this, but especially with that 6-mon draw, it doesn't seem likely. Gonna kind of flow open the potential for Hanitsu down the line on the right. Decent shapes, not much value to a floating Dora across the way. That's a pretty standard Pinfu. Maybe in Sanchoku Doko. Anytime I see that, I just get big eyes. And on the left, shapes need a little bit of work. You can see that they're there, but you need to fill in the 8-so and the 3-pin pretty quickly.
None
But Doko.
could still get it. That's such a fun one. I mean, we haven't seen there have been one or two in the ARML,
Yes,
right?
we've had a couple. I don't believe we've had any on stream though.
Jeremy though cutting the 2-pin in favor of that 1-1-2-2 shape. Immediately tosses the 1-mon on a 4-so draw though.
Well, I'm not sure. If you're going to do that, I think you cut the 1-mon the previous turn, because now cutting the 1-mon kind of kills off your Chi-Toy options. Is you may not even recognize it with that hand shape, but that was 4 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Would be 5 pairs right now if you'd gone Chi-Toy.
Ooh, there's another 2 though.
Well, that's a nice little improvement. Yeah, the 7-mon's the only play there. And Dealer here is, well, that's a really nice draw for Dealer. Still a little slower than you'd like.
And Simon would really like to pull in a 6-mon or 7-mon, already having the 5-6-7 complete in Pinzu and Sozu, but it looks kind of unlikely for either of those tiles to flow in the hand, given Amy has a few of them, and we see a couple of them in the discards as well.
Now, interesting play there by Amy, calling and deciding not to cut the 6-mon, which would be the most efficient given all these terrible shapes, but you don't really want to have that. I don't know. I kind of like the Ryoncon. The more I think about it, I would have liked the Ryoncon more.
What are the advantages to the Ryoncon over the Arianmen? I believe Amy is kind of making a Honitsu push almost here, it seems.
No, it's definitely a Honitsu push. No, I just cut the 6-mon, figuring basically anything can pair up. I didn't necessarily want to lock in on the 6-9. That my pair could be 2-mon, 3-mon, 6-so, 7-so, 2-pin, 4-pin, 6-pin. Any of those work. But I'm always a huge fan of playing headless, especially with open hands, for that reason.
Bong with an Onko of the pay, which are his seat went here.
That is
No
Yaku High, but still an Ishan 10. Yeah, I don't think you want a Damien Con from that hand. Well, there's your 7. Oh, no! Oh, I don't like that at all.
Are any... Let's see. I'm trying to see if any of those... Simon's been Sumogiri for so long.
May have tunnel visioned it a bit. Yeah, because I definitely would love that 7-mon. It's not like 6 looks bad here. As far as you can tell, they're all left. Of course, Dealer has 2 of them. But still, Ishanten, yeah, you see that, and we've all been there. You're sitting there, and how many Sumagiris is that? 10 in a row?
Tenpai now for Amy, waiting on 6-mon, 9-mon.
The 9-mons are all locked up. There's only one 6-mon left. Oh, Tune Backfire. Would have been a hell wait, so it's pretty hard to convince yourself to take that shape.
Chi.
I think Simon is getting out of here. We now see a call for Tenpai on the left, waiting on 5-mon. There is 1 left. But just to realize from the other player's perspective, you're going, where are the Mon discards in Amy's hand? Because Amy definitely has the reputation of these types of shifts that it possibly could be a Honitsu here.
Yeah, and it does seem like Jeremy at least seems to be folding.
Now, there's the last one. See the upgrade to the 5-8 there on the left. Oh, is that cheap? No, it's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
only
one where you're
5
gonna think
players.
about it for a second. Wait, is this a Tempai? No, it's not. We'll have 2 players. Tempai here. Amy does not get the 6-9 to fill in, and Huang eventually gets that 5-8 Tempai with the pay. But move to East 4-2. Dealer has pretty good hand here. Dora, pretty good shapes. Couple floaters, but that's fine. On the right, pretty standard Pinfu. Not too much value, though. You do have a Kanchan, a couple Kanchan with the 5-7 and 7-9. Across the way, is that Ishanten? It's really good otherwise. No, it's Rian Shanten, but a pretty good one, especially that floating Dora. And on the left, a Shaw pair and a Haku pair and an Onko and a pair. So you'd love the. Oh, you have to. Yeah, I definitely go for the dream. Hope for the Suonko. Maybe you just call here, though. Simply because the 9-so should be relatively easy, but since you missed the first one, that kind of hurts a bit. We're definitely selling out on the Suonko here.
Yeah, those are kind of awkward tiles to have for opening as well. Obviously, you could go Atazuke, but it's not like you can shift to a Chanta or anything with the Onko
No,
of
I'd cut
Tupu.
7-8.
Go for Toy Toy,
Absolutely.
1
but
That's your value in this hand. But we have a Tempai on the right. That'll be Ricci Pinfu. No Sanjuku, so just the Ricci Pinfu waiting on 1-4. We see 1-1 and 3-4, so 4 left of the wall.
actually, the more I think about
That
it, the more
Tempai here for dealer will be a chase. Ricci Pinfu Dora waiting on 3-6. There's the Ginbutsu 3-mon, but you're definitely going to throw it against Ricci, against the dealer unless you have to. Uh-oh.
I mean,
Wrong.
huh? Interesting.
Deals into the cheap hand. Could have just folded with the Shaw there.
Yeah, I mean, not having any value in hand yet, I do feel like Sha would not have been a bad move.
Well, when you see that Suonko, your eyes get a little bigger than maybe they should have. Speaking of Yakuman, dealer here with a Haku pair, a Chun pair, and a floating Hatsu. So there is potential here. And the rest of this hand, decent shapes. Nothing particularly great, though. On the right, those are some ugly shapes. You can see that there are blocks there, but Kanchan, Ryankon, Kanchan, floater. Yuck. Across the way, Tanyao, not too much else. I think you should call and go if you can. On the left, 1-2-3 Sanjuku. You'd love to go there. If not, just Ricci Dora is fine.
Jeremy did get a couple of upgrades there. Does have the double non now, which does get called and filled in one of those Kanchan shapes. So, you know, a fairly decent two away here.
1
Can call for
Now
Ishanten.
Ishanten, yeah, pretty nice Ishanten here with Ryankon and potentially a floater. If you draw basically anything in Mon between 3 and 7, it will be Tempai. Ooh, nice upgrade there for Simon.
1
You have to cheat for Tempai. The question is, which weight do you take? Weights on the 4-mon. There is 1 left. Oh, now Simon, you have to call this, and then which of the Ryanmen are you cutting? You can't cut the Hatsu, and that just hurts.
Yeah, cuts the 4-pin, 3-pin. Oh, and now we could have a tempo switch for Jeremy. Yeah.
I like this one, and particularly because you have the Ginbutsu 9-pin weight here, because you might start getting people thinking about the exact situation we're in. Uh-oh, there's a bit of a backfire for Simon. Well, now here on the right, you just take the Ryanmen 1-4. It'll just be the double south, but you're fine with that. Ooh, Dora. Oh, and because you've discarded one already, you may just have to jam it and does. If I'm Amy, I'm going to get Dora for sure there.
Accepting the Nobiton on a
1
let's see, if a Ryanmen is drawn into for Simon, do you think that? Yep. Waiting on 2-so, 5-so?
Oh no! Oh, the 9-man would have paired up, and now you just cut the Hatsu and wait on the 3-6-so. That's rough. But regardless, across the way, Ricci, Tanya waiting on 2-5, so there is one left, and there it is. Like, what else do you throw?
ドン
And yeah, it just ends up dealing right in, because I'm not sure what else you can really push there. Oh, and the Orador really hurts, as Simon will drop here down to, I believe, 4th place. Yes,
Yep, it
barely,
switches
but
first and fourth.
meaning it's a very close game. It continues to be, as we have Jeremy here as dealer in South 2 with very good shapes here. Not much value unless you can add Sononko here, but great shapes. On the right, the double non-pair, a whole bunch of pairs. That's actually Ishanten for
Boom.
G-Toy. Instead, it goes ahead and calls, probably going for the Toy here. The problem is calling 3-mon, 3-pin, and 4-so is really hard most of the time. I think
But with-
by the book, you just... Okay, well, if you do this and you're willing to play for a normal hand, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think that there was anything wrong with that for exactly that purpose. Your pairs, even though they were middle tiles, are attached to floaters that give you Ryamen. So, or not floaters, but tiles that give you Ryamen.
Yes, and pulls it in here, and you're fine with the 2,000. As long as you're fine with that, there's nothing wrong with it. If you're just stuck on Toy, you should definitely feel about passing that and just going the Chi-Toy. Across the way, that definitely looks like a Tanya hand. You also have a floating Dora, and on the left, shapes are pretty good there. That's actually Ryanme Ramen Ishanten with Dora 2. Didn't even notice that. Ricci Pin Fudora 2 needing... Ooh, now you have a choice. You have 3 Ryanmen. Which one do you want to get rid of?
I feel like I would get rid of the 6-0, 7-so.
Yep, so would I. Now, you do lose the potential for the Peiko, but since your overlap is on the 6-so anyway, if you were to draw the 8 shape there, you just Ricci, so you haven't really lost much.
So still Ishanten for both Simon and Huang and Jeremy. Lots of Ishanten here.
Boom.
There's an easy pawn there, and Tempai on the right on 2-5 pin. There are 5 in the wall.
Actually,
and there's
with a-
one of them, and I don't... Yeah.
ドン
That he's going to deal it. I don't really see a way you can get around that. Your safe tile, you're going to keep just particularly for that potential dealer, Ricci. Deals into 2,000. We're now in South 3. And, oh my goodness, look at those pairs for Jeremy. 1, 2, 3, 4, all reasonably easy to call. Dealer here has the South pair, and even a distant Honitsu or Itsu in So. On the right, well, those shapes aren't great. Like, there's potential to do something, especially the Dora, but those shapes aren't very good. Across the way, similarly, another hand that's like, yeah, there's potential, but it just feels kind of slow. And kind of question here is for Jeremy. Does cut the 4-pin, so definitely focusing on this Chi-Toy, because the 4-pin floater not only connects to the 2-pin for regular hand, you also could pull in a Dora as well. So that seems like a reasonably hard commitment to the Chi-Toy.
Huang also took a very long time to think on the 7-mon draw 2 turns ago. Ended up discarding the 1-mon there, so is not going to push for either the Itsu or the Honitsu. Is just going to try and make a normal hand here.
Well, that's obviously the decision, because now you have too many pairs, though. I think that's the awkward situation. I think I would have cut the 7-mon. Yeah, okay, so now you have 3 pairs, one of which is callable, though. And the 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 isn't nearly as bad as you think it may be, because the 3-mon will fix that shape. But there's our Chi-Toy on the left, waiting on the once-cut tone, and oh, that's nasty. That is a nasty little weight.
It's going to be hard for that to change positions, though. I mean...
Ricci Sumo Chi-Toy is 64, so that's good enough.
You do have to sumo it, though, and you really expect this to be a deal-in. And only from Huang would that give you what you need.
Well, Huang, of course, has the most incentive to push, especially with this hand. May even just cut the double south here. Ooh, cuts the Gimbutsu 8. So I guess that makes sense with the early 9-pin. And there's a Tempai across the way. That is a Ricci Pinfu waiting on 1 4-pin.
1 Dora.
Oh, and 1 Dora, you're right. So that would definitely change things up.
Oh, and there's the Haku.
Yeah, pick the incorrect Tonki. but I can't blame him. That's definitely the right play there, is to wait on the. Oh,
Oh,
here it
there it is.
comes. Yep, there it is. Ricci, Cheat Toy. No aura, but I mean, you're just gonna deal that almost every time.
Oh, absolutely. Especially once that second Ricci comes out, because the amount of Genbutsu you can discard has greatly diminished.
Exactly, and you're always a little more scared of that second Ricci, especially if the first one is so early.
And this is an incredibly tight situation in South 4 here. Both Amy and Simon within pretty easy reach of 30k, especially Amy as dealer. But Huang and Jeremy are not going to be playing passively here, as any hand gets Jeremy first, and any hand for Huang would keep that from happening.
Exactly, and you look at dealer's hand here. Nice little hand. Oh my goodness, these draws are just filling in amazingly well. So now Rian Shanten, but you have a bunch of floating tiles here. But potentially Ricci, Dora, even Ricci, Dora 3, depending on how this ends up. On the right, well, those shapes aren't great. You have the 2-2-2-4 in Mon, which is kind of nice, but everything else is pretty bad. Across the way, I believe that's Ishanten. That's a pretty nice Ishanten as well. Would just be Pinfu, and I think you just Dama at this point. And on the left, you have the Haku pair, which I think very simple call and go. The problem is the rest of the shapes feel a little bit slower than what Jeremy has.
Holding on to the 7-mon over the 6-so, a slightly safer floater.
Ooh, big draw with that 6-0 on the right. All of a sudden, Simon's hand looks a lot better. Oh, there's Tempai across the way, waiting on 5-8. I said, I think you just Dama, but Jeremy just jams it, figuring, well, you want to push, I'll punish you for it.
Yeah, well, and Jeremy might also be thinking here that a Dama, gets you, say, what would that be, 1,000 points?
Yeah, just
1,300?
1,000.
Yeah, 1,000 points. That does get you first, but it's only going to be just a tiny bit over 20 once you factor in first place Uma. And Jeremy, currently sitting at negative 117.7, does want a little bit more with that. If you can Subo and perhaps grab an Ura, the extra value will mean a lot in the long run.
Yeah, that'd be 5,200, so certainly noticeable here. Oh, and there's Tempai on the left. This could be Sanshuku, yes. Haku, Sanshuku, Dora 2. This is a Mungon waiting on that 4-mon, but we know there's only one left. Although you should be a little scared there for Simon because it's very loosely floating.
Amy pushing the 5-so.
Uh-oh. 4-mon might come out right here. This is a scary situation. And you can see the hesitation. Okay, throws the 8-pin for now. Oh, there's the
Sumo! The last one in the wall against the Ryanman Ricci is just going to Sumo the Mongon. Not enough.
Yes, and that's going to knock Amy into 4th place. That's a huge effect on the rest of the table.
Oh, yeah, the Oyakabari there, since Amy was only ahead by 200.
And Huang gets another first place here and is really starting to close the gap. Was sitting there below minus 100. Now, you may notice that Huang only has 6 games completed, with the rest of the groups being in 8. Well, that's because Huang missed 2 of the games that were in there, and the penalty for not playing in the game is not an exemption in A1. You're subject to the rules that all of us are. So needed to fight back from it, and this is definitely how you do it with 2 big firsts here, and that'll get Huang out of the demotion zone after the second session is now complete in A1. But you see these final scores with Huang 30.3, Jeremy at 7.5, Simon with a minus 13, and Amy with minus 24.8.
Yeah, and that's incredibly unfortunate for Jeremy, who would have liked, obviously, to have 13 more points getting out of that demotion range as well. But it was pretty good. Oh, my screen just got smaller on me, so I can't actually read the scores anymore to make a comment. There we go. Amy with that minus 24.8 was the person who could take that hit the most out of this table, though you really don't want to. I mean, even being at just plus 22, it's in A1, it can be pretty easy to drop from there into a big negative according to how a table runs.
Yes, we see the stats. Let's see, are these for this season or overall? I can tell very quickly by my own. I think these are overall stats. I know my dealing rate's terrible this season. But I think going forward from here, we will likely be using current season statistics simply because now we actually have a little bit of data. That
Right,
for the
now that
first,
we're
yeah,
starting,
it's all noise the first 4 or 8 games, but now you're starting to see, especially with people who are newly promoting, that they're adjusting their new leagues, and should see some very interesting scenarios.
actually, that's a good thing to bring up. Who are the newly promoted here? Luce and Vincent and Nathaniel
Andre,
was
yes,
right.
and let's see. Okay, looking at the start, Luce, Vincent,
Minko
Amy, Nathaniel,
and Minko.
Minko, and Andre.
Yeah, so very interesting. Of those, three of the new promotions from A2 into A1 in the top six here.
Yes, and it's a different situation. Of course, we say all the time, it's hard to tell just what's going to happen over 8 Hanshan, but there will be another 16 before we have the cutoff. But I'm just glad it's not sitting right now like it was last season, where, as I said over and over in these broadcasts, the cutoff was plus minus 0 for devotion.
Well, and now plus minus 0 is exactly where you expect it to be, directly in the middle.
Right, and that's kind of what you'd expect. Now, you figure, especially people like Jeremy and Eric aren't going to stay down where they are. Eric, of course, won the inaugural season and was in a pretty good position to win the second season, but then Wong just ran away with that Session 6 table.
Yeah, Jeremy similarly was in first before that final table played and ended up in second. Steve, who is currently in first, has been pretty close to having a shot, basically consistently the entire time the American Rigi Mahjong League has been running, is once again hanging out in first, but needs to hold on to it for quite a while to stay there.
Well, you just see these statistics. You see Steve and Luce are just sitting there at very minimal force overall over the course of the 3 seasons, and everyone else is 9 or higher. So that's just the consistent type of play you'd expect from them. And Eric was up there, but had a really rough session this time.
Yeah, I mean, of those 9 last place across 56 Hanchan, I mean, 4 of them have come this season. Incredibly unfortunate there.
But there is plenty of time left, and I believe there are more games.
There's both a B1 game currently active and a B3 game currently active. It does look like we are going to be jumping to that B3 table. This
Yes,
is
Jonathan, I recognize because Jonathan was in the A1 division as a sub last season.
and played pretty decently there, as you'd expect from a 5 diamond. Still ended up kind of towards the bottom, but did a lot of, especially towards the end of the season, played absolutely incredibly.
Yes, very solid, consistent play. Would have been in the demotion zone, but then again, as I said before, who wouldn't have been with how ridiculous that cutoff was? We move here is East 1, and there's a call for the double Yakuhai. This looks to be a shift towards Honitsu, double tone, maybe Parapadora. This could go to Hanemon, or even Toy Toy for even more value. On the right, a whole bunch of pairs. Shapes aren't great, though. Across the way, yuck. Those are just ugly shapes. Media distance 789 Sanchiku, and on the left, well, that's a little bit better. Ricci, Pinfu, maybe Adora. If you pull it in, you can shift to it. It's not that bad.
And Jensen considered the 2-mon Chi for a moment there, ended up turning it down and was rewarded with a 3-mon pull, so making that Honitsu a little bit easier.
Speaking of Dora, there's one that doesn't fit into the hand, but will be floated for now. Also have the ability to go Tanya later. Well, it's got the 1-so pair. Could have called the 2-so and just gone for it. Also probably thinking about Cheeto. Well, okay, if you're going to do that, I definitely think you call the 2-so and just get rid of the 1-so pair immediately.
Well, and now,
wow, what a connection.
yeah, that's 7 mons, absolutely brilliant. And you can still get 5, 6, 7 Sanshoku here.
Speaking
Although
of
that
hands that are just getting better, that dealer that's scary.
Gee.
Yeah, there we see the call on the 6-pin. Already
the-
perfect Ishan. Well, not quite perfect Ishan-ten because of the potential Atazuke, but would be the correct shapes to be perfect Ishan-ten.
And perfect Ishanten as a reminder for those who
Eats.
may or may not have read Riichi Book 1. Perfect Ishanten is when any tile that gets you to Tenpai, whether you call it or draw it, either on pawn or chi, will leave you with a Ryanman weight.
Oh, those floating 4s may get jammed here. Okay, throws the Suji 1-mon for now.
Yeah, and with
And
the
noting
double
there's a
tone,
lot of defense here. People just not pushing into this.
well, with the double tone, you don't have to push the Honitsu. You can still very much push this hand without having to drop those 4-peen.
Oh, yeah. The concern here is you're going to have to cut something from the 6, 8, 9. And all those are very scary tiles.
Yeah, no upper Monzu dropped as of yet. Nothing above a 5, and with the door being the 8 Mon, that's certainly a challenge. The 5-so doesn't look terrible, though, so that will probably come out first.
Well, there's the South. Could see a call here. You can tell there's some, well, maybe we should take it, but decides not to.
Yeah, and that looks like a much harder fold now on the right from DU.
We haven't talked about it much, but this is actually a very awkward 4-7 pin weight. We have all 4 8-pin in that hand. So you can actually pull that out, and then the hand looks a lot cleaner. Because then it's just your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Speaking of Tenpai, there's one across the way for Sananko waiting on that 8-pin, which I can guarantee you isn't coming out.
On a 7 or 9-peen draw, though, that would be Tenpai for Suwanko. That will not happen, obviously, now. No more draws left.
But 2 players Tenpai, and I guarantee you, Jonathan's looking at it and going, what just happened? When you're sitting there with that Tenpai and all of your 8s are being used in a closed hand without a con, feels very awkward. But we move to East 2. Dealer has a Yakuhai Dora pair, so this is very much a call and go hand.
Well,
On the
especially
right,
with the shapes.
oh yeah, beautiful hand. On the right, decent shapes, maybe a 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku. Kanchan, Penchan, it's okay. It's not good, it's not bad. Oh my goodness, look at that for dealer. Now may just go Richidora 2, Ryama Ryanman. Across the way, decent shapes, not great ones, kind of the same. That seems to be the familiar scenario in this hand. Everyone's doing it on the left. Same type of hand. You see the shapes are there, they're just not particularly well connected.
Gee.
Now you could call the 4, but I don't think it speeds the hand up at all. As now you've decided you have to win off that Hatsu. If you kept it close, you could just gone Richidora 2. And I think that Hatsu is going to get kept across the way. Well, now Tenpai, you can wait on the 3-pin Hatsu. And we see where both of them are. And you cannot win on the 3-pin. So it's just the Hatsu. The question is, who dares throw it?
Yeah, it's sort of with... It's kind of hard to read dealer's hand here. I mean, you start off with 4 Terminal and Honor discards, but then go 3-so, 6-peen, 3-mon, 4-peen, and then a 4-so, Sumo Giri. So it's possible you might assume dealer has Tanyao here, but a Dora Atazuke is not uncommon.
And this is always the situation, especially when getting here around turn 11,
Come.
going, wait, why haven't we seen Dora? Oh, goes for the Daiminkan, hoping to Rinshan the 3-pin.
Well, was probably hoping to Rinshan the Dorohatsu. They don't know that it's being
You'd
built right
love
now.
that, but we seem to happen to know that is very unlikely. I mean, of course, even if you Rinshan the 3-pin, you're perfectly happy with it, of course. That would be 7,700 plus the 13 in the middle. Or 7,800 plus the 13 in the middle. Oh, no!
Oh, that hurts.
Because now it doesn't matter if someone throws it.
What would you have discarded there?
You just throw the 3-pin.
Okay.
You take the 4/8 here. The idea here is now if someone calls it, you can throw the other 3 and take a much more flexible Tonki on literally anything. But you're keeping Tenpai, especially with 10 draws left. If there were 30 or 40, maybe you get a little creative here and go for something in lower Mon, but with this situation, you're just taking Tenpai payments. And it's not like that's a bad outcome either, because you're still getting 3,000 unless we see the player on the left get to Tenpai. Oh, is that Tenpai?
I don't think so. Oh,
It
it is.
is.
It's Champon. I was thinking there were too many pairs.
It is, and that's a bit unfortunate there for Diu, but regardless, pulls in 1,500.
Just
You'd like
balances
more.
everything out.
Wow, that's a really rough situation. You're going to look at the log and go, oh, that's where the Hatsu were. No wonder I wasn't winning this hand. I think the big mistake was calling in the first place and opening, making it so you had to win on the Hatsu, even though it hasn't really sped the hand up. But we move on to East 2. Dealer has, well, maybe a distant Chanta, maybe, or Junchan, maybe an Itsu. The shapes are very awkward to use, though. And on the right, we have, well, that's a pretty good hand. Ricci, Pinfu, potentially Peiko. Now potentially Peiko in 2 different suits. Across the way, that looks like a pretty standard Pinfu hand. Ricci, Pinfu, Dora. And on the left, that looks like an Itsu in So. But really, you can connect to anything and you're fine with it. Oh, that is actually Tenpai, but an ugly one. You definitely cut the 7 Mon here. But yeah, I agree with the Dama.
Oh, well, because this is you could also consider this a nice headless, because if you draw the Tuso especially, you'd have Pinfu Itsu.
Right. What you don't want to draw is like 3 Mon, because then you'd be 4-10 and be
Eat.
really frustrated about it. Oh, speaking of
Furitan
4-10, I
9?
do not like this one. I think that was just hit the button and oops.
Yeah, it's the hardest tile to recognize Furchin on is the very first one you discarded for sure.
Bit unfortunate. And we do see a shift towards a possible Rion Peiko on the right.
Yeah, I was actually going to make the Rion Peiko comment when you said there was a chance for Ipeiko in 2 different suits. Because that's kind of what Rion Peiko is. It doesn't have to be.
It is, but you don't figure everything's going to shift that way. I mean, yes, it's possible, but just kept drawing the right things. Eventually could cut the 1 Mon pair and move forward with it. So working out. Oh, there's the 6-0. And now you could potentially be on that Ricci Itsu waiting on 2-so. Bit unfortunate. Oh, and now Ishan 10 for Rion Peiko. Would have to gem the 4, but I wouldn't feel that bad about it. With the 2 discarded that early, you don't figure it came for a pair.
Yeah. Well, what would you do if you drew, say, the 4-peen as Jonathan on the
Sumo.
right here? Oh, but we have a sumo before we can talk about that from Michael.
Yeah, nice little 4,600 there. It'll get Michael to first place. Winning on the 3-so. And, ooh, that's a lot of pairs there. We start with Jonathan's hand. Pretty standard Ricci, Pinfu, Tanya hand. A great draw with that 6 Mon. On the right, maybe a distant Itsu, but the shapes aren't great. Maybe distant 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku. Across the way, Kanchan, 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 Kanchan. I hate those hands. And on the left, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
What
that's
that
for
is. Yeah, I just
Pump.
own that. That is an instant pony. I cut the 7-8. I like this. Go for the toy. The 2-pin's an easy tile to call. The 9 is a super easy tile to call. You may see it come out like right here.
Pump.
It does Tempai for toy Chun. And that's going to be at least on Sumo. I think that's 64. Let's see. So now we have to calculate the foo. Ooh, a nice 2-pin on the right. So that is not dead. Well, we're waiting on the 6-0. There are 2 of those left. So let's do the foo. 4, 8, 16. Yeah, Sumo would get to 50 foo. Rowan on either will not.
Right, because you have to have the closed simple triple to get there, and also the 2 foo from the sumo.
Right. Now, of course, you could throw the 9-mon, Daiming Con, and then you have to worry about it.
Is this with the 2-pin 6 on Shabo? Would you Daiming Con the 9-mon if it came out?
Oh yeah, I would.
Ishan 10 now for Zhang Yu across the table.
Tempai for dealer could take a really ugly Ricci with 2 tiles left. Instead, just Damas for now.
Dong.
There's the
Oh,
2-pin. And there's the 5200, and that will switch and move Diu into first place. Won't knock Michael into last, but third by about 100 points.
Yeah, and I mean this game though still incredibly tight in East 4.
Oh my
and
goodness,
Bunko.
look at that starting hand. That is Ishanten for Chanta Hatsudora. Oh, really rough backfire there. Do not, yeah, you absolutely do not con that one. Hey, let's go around the table. On the right, maybe 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku. Shapes aren't great. Maybe Nitsu and So. Across the way, Pinfu type shapes. You do have that floating Dora, which is part of a 1, 2, 2, 3 shape on the left. That is good, except for the 6, 8, 8, 9. If you pull in a 5-mon, the hand looks significantly better. Now you could even go Tanya with that 4-mon draw.
Yeah, would you have discarded the 5-mon earlier as Michael here?
It's so tempting to do so. I think I would have ended up playing it basically the same way. It'd be unfortunate to have to Ricci on the door if you draw 4-mon, but Ricci Hatsu is good enough.
And we see across the table, Diu did not call con on the 7-so and has now drawn the 9-so to make a Kanchan there. So could
my
still
goodness.
use.
Look at these bloated shapes, the 1, 2, 2, 3, and the 7, 7, 7, 7, 9. Those are so awkward.
Does draw the
okay,
8.
that fixes your problem. I think that's Tempai.
That's Tempai, waiting on 2
Yeah,
so
Ricci Dora. 2, 5, we see, uh-oh.
That's rough.
You can
this
see the
hand.
hesitation here. You really don't want to give this up, but does. Oh, and that's No, it's not Tempai. It's Ishanten on the left.
Beats.
Now Tempai, that's an easy button. Waiting on 1, 4, so there are 3 out and 1, 2 in hand, so 3 left if I'm counting it correctly.
Yep, and most of those are 4-so.
There's the 1-so. Ricci Pinfu gets the cheap end, but you'll definitely take it to get that reach again. The Oradora turns that little 2,000 point hand into a 5,900 point hand, which you get Ricci stick back and the Oradora.
It puts Jonathan back in first, and we're still in this incredibly tight situation.
I moved to South round, and dealer's hand it's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. If you fill in that pinch on 7-pin, then you feel pretty good about a Ricci Pinfu hand. On the right, a Shaw and Pei pair. You'd love to turn this into some sort of Honitsu, but the rest of the shapes in that hand aren't cooperating. That's another one of those very frustrating hands that I'm not sure what to do with when I see it. Across the way, well, now you go for Itsu in So. That's actually Ishanten for Itsu in So. And on the left, that's Ishanten for Riichi Pin Fudora. Ryan McRam and Ishanten looking for the 4-7 pin and 2-5 So.
I always feel really
Ooh,
awkward.
that 6 is a really good draw. You definitely cut the Hatsu here. Yeah, good play. This not only gives you the perfect Ishanten, you get the upgrade to the potentially Peiko.
How do you treat it when you have something like that Shaw pair in hand for a DU on the right?
I'm looking. Probably playing it basically the same way Dio is, which is basically pray for Sanshoku for something to come together, because you think the shard is going to be your save tiles. It's unlikely they're going to fit into the hand ever. And if the other shapes were worth fighting for, great, but I don't really think they are. Goes back into an Ishanten. I think I'm going to cut the 9-mon instead, giving myself a little bit of option for the pick. Although with the 2 6s out, I guess it makes sense to cut that. Bit frustrating there for Michael on the left. Ooh, and dealer is now Ishanten. Would need a shift to turn this into a Sanshoku, but potentially Riichi Sanshoku and even a Dora.
Now, but does have 2 different opportunities to shift, which certainly helps.
Ooh, that's a great draw. Cut the Chun for sure. I do
Ooh.
not like that one. Now you do realize that there is no more 1 pin, but this would allow you to go for an open Sanshoku if you want to move that direction with a 2-3-4.
That's a very good thing to point out. I imagine many people would miss that. There is the Tenpai now though for Zhang Yu here. Is staying Dama, waiting on the 1-mon, 4-mon. We also have, of course, the Riichi from Jonathan across the way, but it is going to lose to the Dama from Dealer, which is just going to be 1,500.
Yeah, picks up the Gimbutsu 1-mon and the Riichi stick and gets over 30k as we move to South 1-1. Has a much better starting end here. Potential Riichi, Pinfu, maybe Peiko, maybe Dora. On the right, a few pairs, but it looks like a pretty standard hand. Plus you have that floating Dora for extra value across the way. Shapes are okay. You have a bunch of Kanchans, but... Okay, now you have a Hatsu pair, so let's just call it go. And on the left, maybe 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku. You also have a floating Dora there as well. Oh, and now you have the 1-mons completely dying off, so you have to think, do I dare go for the open Sanshoku? And the answer is no. Now, I definitely would have kept that floating Dora. 1 pin early is a bit of a backfire. Oh, no, and that's really rough, drawing the 4 pin right afterwards. It does still, at least in theory, connect to the 6 pin, but you'd much rather have the Dora than the extra 6.
Oh, that 7-so draw is very nice. Ishanten now for that Sanshoku.
Yes, and the Shaw would be a really nasty way. Now, dealer Damas again. And I definitely don't like the Dama here because there's really no way to... Oh, no!
Would have been a Patsu,
Oh, Riichi Apatsu Sumo Pinfu. Gets the Sumo, but that could have been so much more. We'll take first as a result of that. Oh my goodness, look at this hand. Another great starting hand here for the dealer.
and can incorporate the Dora 5-mon.
Question is which floater do you want? Do you want the 4, the 7, the 7, or do you cut from the 1, 2, 2? I don't know whether that was a discard or a timeout. I could see either with that hand. It's very hard to read. Well, now Ishanten. On the right, that's also a very good starting hand, switching a little to 4-so for Riichi, Pinfu, possible Dora. Across the way, a Chun pair, and yuck. Anytime I see 5-8 in one suit and then 2-5-8 in another, I'm not happy about it. On the left, decent shape. You have that Penchon to fill in. Maybe time. Oh, that's a great draw with that 6-mon. So, do you ever just cut the 1-2 here? Yes, it does. seems to be going for the widest Tanya. You'll eventually have to get that 1 pin, but you're fine with that. And we actually have a Dama on the right without a Yaku waiting on 6 pin,
Each.
looking for an upgrade potential. Ooh, and there's a Ricci for the dealer waiting on 2 pin Shaw.
Each.
We're going to see a pursuit Sumogiri Ricci.
Waiting on the
Jeez.
6 pin. Which
Speaking of the 6, there's another one of them. So there are now 2 left on the wall. The 2 pin has 1 left, and there's another 6. That weight is dying very quickly.
having not called Ricci the turn before, would you have called the Sumogiri Pursuit there?
I would have Karagiri Ricci, but yes, I wouldn't have messed around and just smashed the button. I mean,
Gee.
I do have a reputation to uphold.
Well, and Jonathan calling here.
Oh, there's the Shaw.
It's
And
staying
there's
in Michael's
Senpai.
hand.
Waiting on the 1-4 across the way. Could see a call here and deal in on the Shaw, and we will.
Wrong.
Just the Ricci, any aura, 1 aura. So all of a sudden that turns into a reasonably sized hand just from the Ricci Nomi because the aura is that important. Plus you have all that sitting in the middle. Oh my goodness, look at this hand for dealer. The Yakuhai Dora pair, the Yakuhai Chun, maybe even Honitsu out of this. Oh my, oh wow.
Absolutely incredible.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted, but one of the two. On the right, the hand is decent. You have the potentially Peiko, great draw there. Now Ishan 10 across the way, maybe 79 Sanshoku. You do have that floating Dora though. And on the left, I believe that's Ryan Shanten, but a kind of an awkward one because you have overlap on the
Yeesh.
7-So and the Ryankan. But the first Ricci will be on the right for Ricci Pinfu waiting on 1-4-So. And we see that 4-So floating out in the dealer's hand. And you have to imagine that's going to come out at some point.
Well, yeah, and especially with this hand's so
Oh, yeah, they may come out right here.
Don't.
Ricci, Apatsu Pinfu. I don't think you could possibly avoid that. As
No.
disgusting as that hand was at the beginning, this is what can happen is you just don't draw much to improve the shapes. You can't call anything, and you're just stuck and you're forced to push something like that and deal in on the Ipatsu. And we move to South 2. Dealer has a very nice Tanya hand, maybe a 3-4-5 Sanshoku as well. On the right, decent shapes, I guess. Not good ones, but you also have that floating South Dora. Across the way, looks like a Junchan, maybe a Sanshoku. And on the left, decent hand, I guess. You see the shapes are pretty much starting to form, but a little too many floaters for what I'd like. And that 5-pin there for a dealer does fit into the hand, but it doesn't make the hand any better because there's too many pairs now. You're losing value because Sanshoku is looking very difficult now.
Yeah, I'd almost with the way this hand is going, it just seems kind of slow despite all of the seemingly good shapes in it. It's taken so long to even get here. You're still 3 Shanten. I'd start thinking about calling just to take a quick open Tanya and try to get something better on my next dealership.
Yeah, I probably would as well. And especially with the 2-3 pin here, you're just figuring that's going to get stuck no matter what you do. Now, if you draw, say, 2-Mon, then you think about a Sanshoku and you actually have some value. But even this 2-So, this is a very interesting decision. Good idea not calling this one and getting rewarded immediately for it. Generally, you don't want to call the Ryanman your good shapes. You want to call your garbage shapes. Because especially with a hand like this, where so many tiles drastically improve the hand and don't cheapen it.
You could still shift to the 3-4-5 Sanshoku here, I suppose. If you draw 4 pin,
Oh yeah, you really, if the 4-pin comes out, I'm cheating that in a second.
and then dropping 2 pin.
Yeah, dropping the 2. Maybe even the 3-Mon.
Boom.
Speaking of 3-Mon, that would deal into nothing. Because that is not a Yaku, that is an Ishan 10 looking for another one so in order to turn into Junchan. I mean, the 8 does connect, and you can pull the 7 in, but doesn't like it. There's the 3 so.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm definitely cutting the 4 so there. Ooh, now dealer's hand's looking a lot better. So I would have cut the 3 mon instead, but I could certainly see going this route.
Yeah, the 3
'Cause the
mon
3
leaving
mon,
the
yeah. You haven't
leaving the
given up the
possibility.
Sanshiku. Yeah, and I'd love to be able to Dama this, but no, you're definitely reaching. Dama on the Sanshiku Kanchan 4 weight. Instead, we'll Dama here for Pinfu and maybe Tanya. I don't like this at all. I'm definitely on the team Ricci, as I do have, as I said before, as I do have reputation to uphold.
Yeah, it's very important. There
Gee.
are definitely situations to call Dama in, but often, especially when you have good Ryanman weights like this one, I mean, we can see all 4 3-peen, so it's going to be very hard for people to use those last 2 1-peen.
4 2-pin. Oh no! Oh, I'm dying inside.
Yeah, this is the second time we've seen an opportunity where Ricci could be called, and the person who, I mean, it was dealer in both occasions, would have sumoed. Dama, again, there are good times to Dama, but you get so much value. Part of the reason nobody's really been able to pull ahead in this Hanchan is because we just keep seeing Dama sumos that would have been literally twice as valuable.
Not just twice, both I think would have been a Potsumos. So you're going from your
Boom.
little 3,900 point hand to instant Mongon. And those, it's hard to stop a dealer Mongon, especially on a Potsumo. But if you don't even give yourself the chance for it, obviously it's not going to come.
Boom.
But we look at dealer's hand here, a Hatsu, and looking to pull another Dora, but maybe just going for Hatsunomi here. On the right, we see a double non-call and a Dora floater, maybe even potentially Itsu, Dora double non would be interesting. Across the way, maybe an Ipeiko. You also have a floating Dora there as well. And on the left, great hand except for the 2-4-4-6 shape. If you can pull in something to connect to that, all of a sudden the hand gets a lot. But ooh, that 6-pin is a great draw. The other hand has no use for that 6-pin, so gets rid of it immediately. It's now Rhyhndra Garm and Ishan 10 for what would be 1,500 plus the 300 in the middle. Needing 1 4 mon and 6 9 mon. 6 9 so.
Chi.
There's a Chi on the left for an Ishan 10 here. Figuring a hand's taking a little too long to get going, so going to speed it up, especially 2 people already haven't called, makes sense. And there's going to be the Chi, and dealer will be Tempai. Oh, does not take the Chi. Has decided will not throw the Dora here under any circumstances. Going to make rest of the Chi very hard to use.
If you are requiring yourself to use Dora, does that basically mean you're going to have to make something else your pair? Is considering it here again.
If you're going to do that, you cut the 8-pin as far as I'm concerned. Okay, now decide to take it this time. I don't know why you don't on the last turn, but regardless, Tempai does jam it. But the longer you wait on something like that, the more dangerous it becomes. And I'm definitely throwing the Dora here if I am a player across the way.
Chooses not to.
Well, that was the only time it was going to be safe. Because since it did come out from the dealer, that gives you some flexibility.
6-0 weight on the left for Zhang Yu, still not coming out. Oh, but there's the 9-0, which is going to deal into DU.
Yep, just the 1,800, but extends the lead, and I believe that will push Jensen into 3rd place. Yeah, Zhang Yu will drop to 3rd, but still over 30,000. Dealer here has decent hand here, Tanyao. Maybe a distant Sanshiku, but I think he's going Tanyao. If you pull a Dora, great. On the right, few pairs. Not good, not bad. It's one of those where I look at the hand and go, this looks very mediocre. I'm not committed to it, but I don't think it's absolute garbage.
Home.
Across the way, on the other hand, though, we have a Haku pair and now a Pon, a Hatsu pair and now a Pon, and a Chun pair. So you're just going for the
Home.
Wanitsu Mangan. And there's a Chun call. And getting close, and that would be Mangan, and that's definitely what you need. You're sitting at 20,300. Now
what a good
Ishan
call.
10. And on the left, you do have that floating Dora, so maybe keeping the option open for 789 Sanshuku, but it feels a little slow compared to the rest of the hands.
And then Dealer had a good pull with that Kanchan 3-pin, filling in the Pinzu shape. Now has a slightly better Tushanten.
Well, now I see a pair up of the Dora on the left, and all of a sudden, now that hand's a lot better. Oh, speaking of hand getting better, look at that. Now can call the 1-so or 8-so, or even potentially just wait on that as Tempai.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
call
there's
the
a Dora.
1-so.
I'm insta-calling Dora. Forget this.
Yeah, I do wonder if Zhanggu has the calls turned off here, because that was so fast. Like, there wasn't even hesitation, was there?
No, well, a little bit, but you can never tell if that's a conscious. Oh, there's Tempai across the way, whether that's intentional or not. And, ooh, Tempai across the way for Manga waiting on 4-7-so, and there are a ton in the wall. 6
Yeah.
left.
3 of each.
Tempai on
Each.
the right would be Riichi Dora waiting on 3-so. Of course, we know there's only 1 left, but Jonathan could only see the 1. Yeah, I can't imagine that Diu's going to be fighting this. This is not the hand to fight with.
Yeah, safe tiles so far. And it does
Now
look
backing
like
into Chitoi Ishan, though.
Zhanggu seems to be folding
Come.
as well, discarding the 5-on-9.
Oh, and they're gone into Dora 4!
Dora!
Oh my
Dora
goodness,
now
this
for
is
me.
Baimon now. Good weight Baimon. That would definitely shake the standings up here.
It would kind of be incredibly funny to see a Baimon Sumo and just basically see everything even out once again.
Well, there's another one of those 4. That
There's still
1 so is a
more.
very aggressive push. Oh,
Come.
that's scary. And, oh,
And another con!
what did we just see? Con into Rinshon!
That's insane!
Oh my god. And that will be first place moving to South 3 as Michael pulls the Rinshon Baimon, hits first place to the Oyakabari for 8,000 points, and just takes control of this table. Everyone else is now under 30K. A monster hand. Well, I have a feeling you will see that clip later in a review show, but we will move to South 3 for now. Dealer has a decent hand here, not too much of you have a floating Dora. On the right, a Haku pair and decent shapes. That's already Ishan 10 for potentially Riichi Haku. Across the way, that looks like a Chitoi hand at this point. Speaking of Chitoi, that's not it on the right, but the Haku Riichi is on the table now, and on the left, few pairs, but I think it's hard to do much of anything when there's such an early Riichi.
Yeah, and this is absolutely huge, because if Michael's able to win this hand, that keeps everybody below 30K.
Still will have one more hand, but yes.
Oh, you're right, it's not South 4. Whew.
Uh-oh, and that 5-mon for Dealer just kind of floats out there, especially if the Dora comes out. I think the 2 still will come out. Oh, uh-oh.
5-pin
Okay,
first.
throws the 5-pin instead. But Ishan 10 for a monster hand, but we know that 5-mon would deal into Richinomi.
Each.
Oh, there's another.
Yeah, there it goes. Wins the cheap end, but it will be enough to end the round and shut down Jonathan's Dealer turn and move to South 4. And the name of the game is get over 30K for everyone except Michael, who off that Rinshan Baimon is just enjoying it right now. Does have a Yakuai pair with the Tone. Rest of the hand isn't that great, but especially if you can call Dora, you can make something out of this. Could even call the 9, so and does. Figuring no one else will be able to use the Tone anyway, so it's likely to come out. On the right, we also see a Yakuhai and a floating Dora, but the rest of the shapes leave a little bit to be desired. Across the way, there's 2 Dora, and that hand's much better. That is now 2 away from Tempai for potentially Ricci Dora 2. And on the left, pretty good starting hand for potentially Ricci, Pinfu, Ipeco, but pulling that 2-so makes the hand a lot cheaper.
Each on 10 for Michael now.
And interesting, keeping the 7-so rather than taking the potential 3-sided upgrade there. I definitely would have cut the 3-4 pin because there's also a path to just Honitsu.
Yeah,
there's no guarantee you have to get stuck on the waiting on the Tone here.
Right, and that's another thing to consider. While the 2-pin is Dora, I mean, right now you can only incorporate 1 into hands, but if you're able to switch to Honitsu, I mean, Honitsu's worth 2 Han, and Dora's only worth 1.
Of course, as always, you have to take into context that we can see 3 of the 2-pin, but you can't when you're in the game, so that has to, of course, always be considered. Now, we do not see a call the Formon here on the right. Definitely looking for extra value here. Probably want to go Dora Tonki, so I definitely would have called the Formon. Just aiming for the Dora Tonki at the end to get over 30K in second place. And there's the first 2-pin cut, and ooh, there's the 3. So, see, I really wish the 3-4 had gone out already. I think he just cut 9-mon, 9-mon. Instead, just cuts the 3-so right back. The issue, though, is that you're going to have to throw another 3-so. You're getting towards the point where everyone's going to start looking Tempai. And as I say that, there is a Tempai. This is just waiting on the 4 for Sanshoku Dora.
Which is enough to get over 30K for DU.
And there are 2 4-pin on the in the wall. There's the Tone, and I mean, it's obvious dealer wants it, but you don't want to be folding here. You absolutely can't afford to be folding.
Yeah, because even
you'll
if dealer...
drop the 4th on Tempai payments, because you know that Jonathan's going to go for Tempai.
Yeah, and even if Michael doesn't get the Tone, it's not like that gets you out of the situation, because Michael will just freely exit Tempai to secure first.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, there's a monster hand on the left. This is Pinfu, Ipeco, and okay, maybe Tanyao. And there's the 9. It will be the Pinfu, Ipeco. Will not get out into 30K in second place, but the Dama is good enough to lock up third place. And Jonathan will take it, but the big winner here is Michael off, as you may suspect, that Baimon Rinshan, which is kind of hard to overcome for the rest of the table when you get that in South Round. In second place, we have DU with a -0.4, and third, Jonathan with -8.4, and in last, Jean-Yu with -20.4 after the deal in South 4.
Yeah, and that was a game that was marked by how close and tight it was in literally every single hand, except for that one. And that's all it takes to break things open.
Well, I mean, that's obviously the top story. I think the second one, though, is still just when you have that good weight, especially early in the hand, but even late in the hand, if you think everyone's going to push, just hit the button. I'm always an advocate of, I don't like having to think. And a bit unfortunate that both of those would have turned into Ipatsumos, but instead we do have the game over here. I believe there is one more from this session, which we will get to in a bit.
Yes, and they have already started, so it should start any second now. We do see that this helps Michael out quite a bit in getting in a safer position in the promotion zone. The other three, unfortunately, in the negatives, but not very deep in the negatives. They can all still climb up. There are 16 Hanchan left to play, or 17 since they have one more here. So plenty of time to still earn yourself a promotion spot.
Yes, and there are 11 promotions, but as we've seen from the lower divisions in previous seasons, it can be very rough because you're going to have some people just steamrolling the tables. And so the very top will start pulling away, and you're going to only see a few spots open up, but you want to be in the running there. And there's potential for all of them to come back here.
And part of kind of showing that point here, while the top score in Division B3 is not really all that different from, say, the top score in A1. I mean, Steve has about 150, which is where first, second, and third are here. With this being such a massive pool, we have 3 people above 150. And that makes things a lot tougher when you have, as you said, those 3 people kind of putting things on here at the beginning and really running away.
Yeah, we saw a lot of this in B2A last season, where you had a couple people that just kind of cruising most of the season, and the question was, what would be the last spot, and then what would be the playoff spots? But we have a game starting now. Dealer has a Yakuhai Haku pair, decent shapes, could also pull in a door, maybe a distant Sanshoku. On the right, we have 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, hands looking very good now. Across the way, you see maybe even, do you just sell out for the Honitsu here? It'd just
Is
be
at least
Bakahon
thinking
unless you
about
can
it.
do it. Well, you're kind of floating the option, cutting the 4-pin of, do I want to even maybe leave Suanko open? I like that play. And on the left, maybe a distant 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, maybe just pull in a Dora and go for Ichi Tanyao. But it feels slower. Again, you have so many of these Kanchans. Kanchan, Ryankan, Kanchan, and then your floaters. And that 5-pin just adds another Kanchan to the hand.
When you're looking at an opening hand, how many Kanchans does it take for you to start to think that it's an incredibly slow, not very good hand?
It depends what turn it is. If we're getting towards like now, you're getting into second row. If I have more than one bad shape, I often may just call for 1,000, especially if I don't think, even if I draw my big tile, that the hand's going to be that much more valuable. But say that 6-pin pull in, all of a sudden this hand looks great. Now it's potentially Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao. And here calling even the 3 so doesn't really help because you're still Otozuke.
What about the
But
6?
if that, well,
Oh.
here are your Tempai. Do you take it? It's kind of ugly. Takes the Dama here, looking for some sort of upgrade, especially when you pull in Dora.
Right, and there are a lot of very good upgrades here. So this Dama has a lot more meat behind it than the others we have seen from Zhongyu had.
Right, because you can draw the 5 so, and then you have Ricci, Pinfui, Peiko. You can draw the Dora and have, well, Dora. And even then you'd have plenty of upgrades. You can connect to, here, you have another Ipeiko upgrade. See, I would definitely cut the 2 so there. I don't like the Dama here.
And for those who haven't heard it before, part of the reason there is having a really good Ishanten gives you a lot more maneuverability than a halfway decent Tempai does.
Right, and if you draw the 3 so, how happy are you with it? Well, some may be okay with it, but I'm looking at it and going, I got 1,100 from this. And there's our Tempai. Ooh, can you really throw the 8 so? That's a scary tile. Does just force it.
So how would this hand be interpreted on a 5-mon roll?
Let's see. Oh my goodness, this is going to hurt my head. Oh, well, I don't think it's going to matter yet, because we have Ricci on the right for Ricci and potentially Dora. Let's see, on the 5, could we add Ipeiko?
Well, you can, if you went on the 5-mon, you get a Peiko, but that would have to be, Would that be filling
Boom.
in the 4, 5, 6 shape? We're not going to have to worry about it. The
Well,
Dora
it's
comes out into 2 Richis.
Yeah, Ricci Dora for 2,600 gets the Ricci 6 back who moved to East 2.
Yeah, I was so busy trying to understand Jonathan's hand that I didn't see why DU discarded the Dora there. DU was not pushing a lot of incredibly risky tiles in that last Hanchan, so I do
Got
wonder.
Tempai and just jammed it, and that can happen. At least I think it was Tempai. But we move to East 2 here. Dealer has decent hand here. Probably just a Ricci Pinfu on the right. Maybe an Itsu and Mon. Maybe a 5, 6, 7 Sanchu. You also have a Dora. Lots of options across the way. That is Ishan 10 for Chitoy with 2 Dora. So even with how easy things are to call, you might even go Toy Toy depending what you draw. Well, I don't think you have to think about that too hard now. I would Dom and look for a better upgrade, and that's what will happen. Waiting on the 6-mon for Chitoy Dora 2 for now, but that is clearly designed with the idea of improving that later. On the left, the hand actually isn't that bad, but nothing compared to Tempai for 6,400 already.
Although the only unfortunate bit is that this is kind of communicating as a cheat toy. I mean, when you see 1746 and all from different suits as the first 4 discards, if a Ricci comes out here, I mean, I would often be pretty willing to bet.
Oh, that's rough. That's 9-pin. This is one where I just Sumagiri the 9 rather than Karagiri, but because now you're kind of learning. Oh, well, this will be the Ricci. Easy. There is. This is another one where I don't see the advantage of the Dama because if you draw south, you're throwing it. You're just going to throw it.
Right. Ricci guarantees Mongon, and Sumo would do you to Hanamon, so it's huge.
Oh, that's rough. Okay, and does the 1-turn thing, which again, all sorts of A1 players have come on these commentary and said we hate it.
Especially for cheat
Tempai on the right for Ipeco Dora waiting on 7-mon. And now upgrades, I think you just Ricci this.
Yep, because then, I mean, you can win on Dora.
Exactly. Of course, you don't know that 2 of them are being used here, but okay, easy take that one. Don't you? You may just be afraid of that 7 because of the Sumagiri Ricci.
And you do, and as we said, it does look like Chitoy on the right. I mean, the 7 being Suji means absolutely nothing, giving those discards.
Oh, and there's the 7. Would have won on it. Oh, another 7. That's really rough. And there's your Dora. Oh no! Every backfire possible has happened. And another
Sumo.
7. And there's the Sumo for Hanemon.
And there's the case in point for why you Ricci that. Does not get the Urodora for the Baimon, but you will take the 12k regardless.
Right, and so the thing about Ricci is it's not just that it increases your hand value, it's that it announces to the rest of the table, stop messing around. I'm Tempai, and I have at least enough to throw the stick in.
And early on from DU on the left.
Yeah, maybe just going for the Baka home, but you have that floating Dora, so that's probably the thinking here. Dealer has a Hatsu pair and a few other pairs, but probably just looking to call and go here. On the right, that is... You'd really like to pull the 678 Sanshoku out of that. It'd be very difficult. Might even Chi that, doesn't. And across the way, maybe an Itsu in pin. Maybe a 678 Sanshoku there as well. You also have the floating Dora to consider. And as mentioned on the left, I think it's just a push for Bakahon. But maybe a distant 3, 4, 5 Sanshoku waiting on Dora as well as potential.
And for those who do not know, Bakahon is kind of a tongue-and-cheek Yaku name. Hon, obviously, is short for Honitsu, if you are not familiar with that. And then the Baka is because an open Honitsu without a Yaku is just 2 Han, not really that valuable. And you typically expect another Yaku, like a dragon or some other Yaku high. So the Baka just means like it's kind of a dumb Honitsu. Not that it's necessarily dumb to go for. There's very often times that you do go for it, but It's kind of just a play on words for a cheap Honitsu.
Well, that and also alternatively, when you're going for it yourself, you always feel kind of dumb doing it.
But
It's like,
here,
yeah,
it's
the
not
hand forcing
alcohol,
you
you have
into it,
Dora.
but yeah, you have Dora. This is an actual hand. And now, of course, just looking to call the Yakuhai Dora and just maybe take the 2-5 mon weight. Because that's Mongun already, and especially if you're bluffing
Yeet.
for the Honitsu. But in the meantime, we have Dora Tonki weight across the way.
I
That
love me a
Tuso
paper.
Pone. The Tuso Pone was a very aggressive play here. Just basically saying, I need the Hatsu, and I don't think this hand's going to change otherwise. And
Well,
we have two
Akazuke!
players waiting on it. Yeah, two players waiting on it. And now we have Tempe on the right for Tanya, waiting on 3-6. So then the 6-0 are locked up in the hand of the left. The 3-0, there are two on the wall.
Oh man, the pay would be a pretty disastrous deal in here.
Yeah, if you draw it, do you dare throw it? I think I just fold.
I never would. But I'm also a coward.
Well, you also have to realize you're just pushing for 1,000 from first place position, so that needs to be in your consideration as well. Could see a con here, just waits to con later. I think if you draw it, you go ahead and take the con, and if you don't, you just throw it.
Yeah, at the very least, it's a safe. It's a certainly safe discard if you're able to get a 1-pin or 1-so pawn.
Oh, that 4-pin looks terrible. Yeah, just throws it as safe, though. I have no problem with this. There's Tempai for
Ooh,
dealer.
take
Would have
it.
to push that 4-pin.
It's
So
double.
how many 3s are there?
Yeah, there
I
were
only
three-
count 3. Yeah.
3 3s and 3 5s, so it was double 1 chance.
Oh, we see someone else seeing the same exact thing going, yeah, oh my god. Oh, wow, look at that upgrade for dealer. What?
doesn't
No,
change it,
no.
though! And then
Okay, it doesn't matter.
So yeah, it doesn't end up mattering, but yeah,
Oh, yeah, Jonathan's going to look back at the log and go, what was I thinking? Because the 4-pin had just come out. You just jam it and take your Toy Toy Tempai. But we see the sumo on the right, so not punished for it.
and that's a much harder defensive situation to be in. 3 3s and 3 5s cut do make the 4 a pretty reasonable push, I think.
Well, especially when you're sitting there for Mongon, but you can't know you're both waiting on the bay. Regardless, though, we move to East 4. Dealer there's a nice Dora pull in, so potentially Ricci Dora. Going to be hard to get Pinfo out of this. Of course, if you pair up the tone, you just go for your double Yakuhai. There's another Dora, so now you can start thinking value. On the right, we see the non-call, which is a Yakuhai, potential Itsu in pin, potentially uses the Dora. Across the way, a Chun pair and a Dora, maybe an Itsu in Mon. And on the left, well, just looking to pull in a Dora as well. This seems to be a very common theme for this hand. Imagine hands liking Dora.
Three.
And there's Tempai on the right waiting on that Dora. Will be non-Dora, but there are
Double
two in
non.
the wall.
Oh.
Could come out.
Still East. Man, it seems like this East round has lasted so long. I thought for sure we had moved into South by now.
Nope, not yet. Ooh, Chun pulling across the way. Ooh, how greedy do you want to be now? Goes
Pretty
for the greed. I like the play. I don't see a reason to get away from the Itsu Chun. The question is, can you turn into Honitsu on top of everything else?
Zhongyu floating Chi Toy here, discarding the 8-so, keeping the 3-pin, has 4 pairs now.
Yeah, but you know you're behind if you're at 4 pairs here, especially someone I've already called. Tuso almost has to come out here. You could pwn and change the weight, but there's no reason. Well, now you definitely throw the 8-mon. Upgrade your shape. And there's Tempai across the way for Itsu Chun Dora waiting on that Dora. So we're going to have 2 people waiting on Dora. And a Chi on the left there. Just going for the quick Tanya to try and end this. Of course, quick is relative here because it's the only hand that's not Tempai other than Dealer, who has a monster, and there's the
Boom.
4, and that'll deal into the cheap 1,000.
Now we are
And
in the south round.
yes, this would be South Round. And Dealer starts off with a pretty good hand here. Potentially Ricci, Pinfu, Tanya, Dora. Well, not looking like Tanya anymore,
Well, Sancho,
but you're fine with that. Going to be very hard to do that, considering your pair is likely ended up being the Tune or the 8-1. Well, okay, maybe now. On the right, we see a Hatsu pair, decent shapes as well, 2 Dora, so that's just a call and go hand. Across the way, a Tone pair, which is no longer Yakuhai, a Penchon that's a bit annoying, but would accept Dora. And on the left, okay, that's the best hand for sure. With the non-pair, the Haku pair, and, well, you're going to see a call here for sure. Cuts a 5, so it's not the
Gee.
most efficient cut. The 4-pin would be, but it does
10-5
give you
for
the most
Michael.
value.
2p, 5p now for Michael.
Yeah, Dealer Tempai, and it may come out right here. Doesn't, though. Held at least for now. You see some hesitation across the way. Doesn't know what to do with the 9. Goes or gets rid of the 8. Ooh, interesting option with the 2. Cuts the 4, so will deal in if
Ooh.
Tempai is reached. And unless you draw specifically the 3, and then you may throw it back anyway just because you'd be Furry 10.
And look at that! Did pull in the 3,
Boom.
but drops it as you said anyway, and will deal into the Tanya Dora 1 for 2,900.
It's one of those times you're like, yes, Sun mentioned. Oh, never mind. And then you deal at it, it feels even worse. But Dealer here has potential Itsu in Mon, potential 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku. On the right, we look at, it's probably not a Pinfu hand, but Ricci Dora, certainly possible. Across the way, yeah, needs a little bit of work. You can see the shapes are there, but they need to connect. And on the left, kind of the same problem. Now, interestingly, we do see a Mochi Mochi, except then not on the Yakuhai with the Tone, but we could see this end up being a Ricci on the right and the Tone coming out from the left, breaking from the pair, assuming Dealer is not the first attempt by here.
So is it still considered Mochi Mochi if it's not Yakuhai?
I don't know, actually.
Like, if you had, like, say if you had 2 Mon and someone else had a pair of 2 Mon, is that Mochi Mochi?
I genuinely do not know. But it would still be a paralock, which is certainly the English term we use for it. Now you see a perfect Ishanten on the right, but Dealer's Ground Ryanman Ishanten as well for Ricci Pinfu Dora.
Yeah, gonna be very hard to shift that into a Sanshoku, unfortunately, since, you know, a Forso, which would slide you in the right direction, would be Tempai. And you're just gonna jam the button, as you say.
Well, as I tend to say, is that the more you have to think, the more likely you are to make a mistake. And
You know,
particularly with the power of Ricci, oftentimes you're just overthinking the situation. And that's something I had to learn and deal with for a very long time.
Here we see a very good. Oh, well, okay. I was gonna say we see a very good ditch of the Tune to hold on to the 3-Mon to keep the potential Ipeco open, but after drawing the 6-0, immediately ditched the 3-Mon and is now gone back to holding a safe tile.
Oh, a 6-Mon Dora pull in. So going to go ahead and break the Ryanman in So to upgrade this to Ricci Pinfu Dora 2 Ryanman Ramen Ishanten on the right. Oh, the double south. I think you just throw it back. I even like the Yakuhai here.
Well,
There's
yeah, 'cause
Tempai on the right. There's a Ricci Pinfu Dora 2.
well,
You
we
could
don't know if
actually
there's a Ricci
Jama
yet.
this one. Yeah, I would still Ricci. The 5-8 is going to be very hard for it to come out from anyone, but you're facing the issue if you draw it yourself, you're giving up so much value here.
And for the record, if the 5-8's going to be hard to come out from anyone, that holds whether there's Ricci or no Ricci.
So I think it has to be a Ricci for Dealer as well. You have a Yaku. You absolutely Ricci this.
Yeah,
And now I
this
think
is
you
why,
just chase it. Yeah.
This is why holding the Souths was so detrimental, because now you don't have Pinfu.
Right, now it's Ricci Dora.
Waiting
And
on
still
4
that
on
Dama.
7.
Oh,
Boom.
okay. Well, I mean, if you'd reach it, it would have been the Ipatsu.
That would have
Especially
been
if you're
a
going to
Mongon.
chase the dealer. I could at least see the Dama there because you're waiting on a Gimbutsu tile. But it does get at least some value there. The 3,900 plus the 1,300 in the middle. We move to South 2. Dealer has a decent hand here, and I shape in Mon. The rest of it, though, could use a little bit of work. On the right, shapes are there, just not much value. Feels a little slow. Across the way, that looks more like a standard Pinfu hand, maybe a 3-4-5 Sanshogu somewhere. And on the left, kind of the same issue. Like maybe a 3-4-5 Sanshogu, but it feels a little slow. You do have that Dora. Interesting, cutting from the Shaw pair and floating the Tone as the Dora.
It feels like there's been a lot of very rough terminal shapes at this table so far. Do you see anything prompting that, or is it just kind of the way the tiles are falling?
Well, early in the hand, there just isn't anything you can do about it. So I don't necessarily blame the players for that. You're going to get bad hands a lot. You have to remember, even if you're just dominating a table, you're still only winning 30% of hands. We see a call for Chanta or even Junchan on the right now.
And actually, DU had a very good Penchon fill-in on the last turn as well, and now is Tempai. This would be a Tonki, though.
Oh, yeah, I like the wait. At least wait for now for an upgrade.
The dream draw would be the East.
Yeah, you'd love to have that wait. That's good enough.
Ooh.
Two-sided Ricci. I don't like the Donkey. This is an awkward shape. Is actually Tempai waiting on 6-so and 7-so, because the 7 obviously is the Tonki, but the 6 because you use the 5 as a pair. Oh no! I'm dying inside.
Now, it would not have been Ipatsu because of the
Right,
con.
because of the con.
But
it still would have been Ricci Sumo and 2 Aura. Oh. Oh. Well, we move on. South 2-1. Dealer has a Dora, decent floating shapes. Yeah, I like the 9-so cut there. You'd like to shift to Tanyo eventually, but it's so far off. The 1-1-3-5-5 shape isn't as bad as it may seem, though. Because you can accept 1, you can accept 2, you can accept 4, and you can accept 5. On the right, well, that 3-pin's a really nice pull-in. You do have overlapping needs of the 7-so, but it is technically Ishan 10. And there's Tempai for dealer. Hey, Ricci. Oh, wait, never mind. That's a 1-1-3. I just finished talking about that. Across the way, we have a bunch of pairs, maybe? Kind of hard to figure out what you're going to do with that hand. You have the 9-9-7. I think you're just going to turn it into a Pinfu eventually.
Ooh, if you're DU right here, what do you discard?
1 Mon.
Okay, keeping the 3-5-5 shape?
Yes, because I haven't given up on Tanya here.
All right. But I wanted to interrupt you and get your opinion on that before it was too far gone.
Right. And on the left, pretty standard Pinfu hand, especially you can pull in that 7 Mon. Ooh, now that hand's looking very expensive.
Boom.
And there's the South. It was paired up, and now that was enough to call. So we'll just be the South. This is Ishanten still.
A pretty nice Ishan 10, given that you can pawn either the 9-mon or the 9-peen.
Gets rid of the 5. It doesn't actually help the shape that much. I definitely want to cut the 9-mon earlier, because the 9 gives you literally nothing in that hand. Of course, we know would have caused a pawn across the way for Tempai.
It's going to continue hanging on to it here, though. Oh, the 6-mon helps out DU a little bit here. There's Tempai for Jonathan. waiting on the 7 so, immediately takes it.
Uh-oh. And immediately drawn. And the question is, does it get pushed? And the question is anything safe? And the answer is no, but we'll push the 8 mon anyway. Could have thrown the 9 mon. I guess that would have been the safe play. With the
9
Suji
mon,
with the 6 coming out.
yeah, the 9 mon's definitely the safest tile. The 8 mon, I think, is kind of an interesting Mawashi there. You know,
Now, here's an interesting thought. I'd have called Tuso.
On the, if you're Michael?
Across the way.
Oh,
Tuso
it came
Chi
out from
cut
Jonathan.
9 mon 9 mon.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. But then you're waiting on Dora eventually.
Right. I mean, obviously you don't expect it to fill, but you don't feel bad about pushing it.
And the 9 peen doesn't seem awful here. Well, there's only 2
You're
18s
going to chi
on.
this, and you may end up dealing in, unfortunately. Oh, okay. Decides to pass, but it's going to be very hard to get Tempai if you're not going to throw the 9 pin, if you're not going to throw the 7 so.
Yeah, it seems really unwilling to toss the 9 mon. I mean, would have still been Ishan 10 on a 9 mon discard there, so not really a ton of reason not to. And discarding the 9 peen, which just came out. I started talking before I realized that.
Yeah, well, now we have a Tanyo upgrade for the dealer. Still Ishan 10, though. Looking for a pair. Seems very weird to see this hand and go, wait, there's not a pair here?
Because you usually expect the 6 to be the pair until you notice that there's 4 of them.
Well, there you go. 2 Dora, definitely jamming this. It's safe. Now, this is where you could dom. Yeah, I like the dom here. Oh, but there's the Sumo on the right. Ricci, Sumo, Dora. It will be extra Fu with the 2 Onko, pushing it up to 5,200 plus the 1,300 in the middle. And we'll get Jonathan back over 30,000. We move to South 3.
Yeah, and this is great timing for Jonathan as well. Pick up that Sumo, get above 30k. You're dealer now, and now a Mongon. Well, a Mongon Sumo puts you in first. A Mongon Ron off of anybody other than Shangyu will leave you just shy.
Yeah, great starting end here. A potential Sanchoku with a 6, 7, 8. Well, you were thinking Tanya until it pulled in that 1 pin. On the right, we see a Chun pair. Decent shapes elsewhere. Not too much value, though. Across the way, feels like a Ricci, Pinfu, Tanya, maybe Peiko. So pretty good starting hand. And on the left, the other Chun pair. Uh-oh. You know what that means. Means neither of them are coming out unless something very strange happens. So we might see an actual Mochi Mochi here without any question. And could have even called the 9 mon and taken a distant path to the Honitsu, but instead passes, figuring these shapes are fine. Ooh, that 5 pin's a very nice draw. The dealer is now Ishan 10. Really don't like that Penchon, but honestly, the 3 pin doesn't look that bad on the wall, just given how many 1s and 2s are pouring out.
Should the 7 mon come out there?
No, I'm definitely still considering the Sanchoku. It could still be a 5, 6, 7 now, though.
Okay.
You are giving up the potential for the Peiko this way, which is a bit unfortunate, but the 7 just has so much stuff that connects to it.
My only concern with the 7 mon, especially as we get later in the hand, is that it's Suji to Dora, and is going to seem pretty unsafe if someone calls Ricci, which it seems like someone else is going to get the Tenpai before us.
The issue is you can just always cut the 1. The 1 is safe against everyone, and the 2 is safe against the player to the left, who looks the most dangerous right now. So I wouldn't feel that bad about it.
Oh, we do have a Tenpai across the way waiting on the 3 mon. Another Dama.
Dama, Tanya, Dora, 2 bad Wade. I don't have a problem with this one. I mean, I'd still reach it because that's kind of my thing, but I don't have a problem with this Dama.
Yeah, lots of value here. The problem is,
the problem here is how are you getting into the 30,000? Because that's something you should definitely be considering here. Of course, if you just sumo it, but if your plan is sumo, you might as well reach it anyway.
Boom.
But there you go. There's your Dama. Direct hit for 5,200.
And that is going to switch third and last place and put Michael in a very good position to steal second going into all last.
But then you look at this hand, and dealer is not going to give this up without a fight with a Hatsu pair and maybe even a Honitsu here. Also a potential distant 1-2-3 Sanshoku on the right. Pretty standard Pinfu, but feels a long way off. Across the way, good shapes in pin, and then there's everything else in that hand. Ugh. I don't know. What do you go? Honitsu? Kokushi? I'm probably selling out for Honitsu, especially after the 7-month got on the first turn. And on the left, a few pairs, outside chance for a Chitoi, and also cuts the 7-mon, which would have accepted the Dora shape, so that's probably a commitment to Chitoi.
You know, what's interesting is even Holnitsu is going to make getting out of fourth place kind of difficult unless you're able to pull in a Yakuhai here, which you do have several of, but they're slowly going away.
Well, you're kind of hoping for the Itsu, but this is the problem. When you're sitting in fourth place, a
Gee.
deep fourth place, and I probably need Hanemon to get out of here. And then you get a hand like that. What do I do?
Ugh, it just keeps actually
Thinking Kokushi. Yeah, that seems to be the
Gee.
play here. It's just so late for it.
yeah, just now to 9 distinct terminals and honors, unfortunately.
Oh, and there's a Dora. Goes ahead and throws it anyway. Now, the interesting thing here is the Hatsu might get kept if the 3-so gets called, because then it definitely looks like a Honitsu.
I mean, no so tiles have been discarded here. Whenever that happens, you really prefer to have your weight be outside of so or an honor, make it a little bit trickier.
Well, it's not just that. It's that you're seeing all sorts of mid tiles in the other two suits. So it very much looks like a Honitsu hand. Speaking of our
straight-
Kokushi attempt, it's not dead yet.
Yeah, 2 straight new terminal and honor draws there, so now just 2 away from actually a 13 weight as it stands.
I mean, you might as well keep going for it. It's the whole what do you have to lose at this point? Could call for Tempai, but yeah, decide that's not really worth it. Speaking of Tempai, that is not quite. And there's our Chitoi on the left. This will be Ricci Chitoi.
Yeet.
Could even Dama here. But it goes ahead and smashes the button. Ricci Chitoi waiting on the south. There are 2 in the wall still.
Only 1 more north left for DU to draw across the table.
And that's an easy call. I think you absolutely call this. The question
Oh.
do you cut the 2-so? I think that's a mistake. If you're going to do it, you can always call and cut 2-so. And just wait in the Gimbu to 3-so and decide later if you want to fold. I think just passing is a mistake, but may just figure first is good enough. The issue, as we can tell, is Ricci Sumo Chitoi or a 2 would be first place.
And there are still 2 non left in the wall somewhere. There are now no more 9-peen for DU left to draw, so that Kokushi is officially dead.
The question is, where are they? I mean, we knew there were 2 on the wall, but they're still on the wall. Does it happen on Haite? Nope. 2 in the dead wall. That's really rough. But it is good enough for Jonathan to get second place and over 30K. And that'll be the end of this hand. The end of this game with Zhongyu getting a total of 27.9, Jonathan at 7.5, Michael losing 8.3, and DU with minus 27.1.
Yeah, this essentially flips DU and Zhongyu in the standings, although with both of them kind of being towards the lower middle of the pack, not deeply significant at this point in the season.
Yeah, and again, there's so much time to play still, so we have a lot of games coming up. But is that it for today, or do we have more games?
I have been casting for quite a while and have yet to eat dinner, so I probably want to duck out. I do know that well, did the B1 game just finish, actually? It looks like in the chat, the results of the B1 game have just been posted. So I actually don't think there are any more games going on whatsoever. So
All right, then let's hang this up. I mean, is there anything else other than just the obvious Rinshan Baimon?
yeah, that was definitely the highlight moment of all of our cast today. Although I would suggest anybody who maybe is just joining on to the end here, especially if you were one of the players at the table, this these last two Hanchan that we watched are very, I mean, for anybody, are very worth going back and studying. Looking at Ricci versus Dama Judgment and really adjudicating when Dama is the right call. I feel like there's a lot to be learned from the comments, both in the chat and especially from Korak here, who is well known for Ricci enthusiasm, to kind of see like how much Ricci can increase your value. These were very, very educational Hanchan for sure.
Well, I mean, you don't always expect the Ipatsumos to come, and that's really unfortunate. But you also have the extra Yaku for the Sumo. You get the extra Yaku because you're stacking. Each individual Han is a double until you've hit Mongon level, and that's not including the Oro, which immediately takes Arichi Pinfu up to Mongon. But regardless, it's something to pay attention to. But again, that Rinshan Baimon, oh my goodness. As I said, you will see that again in the future.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny too because right before the Rinshan, the Onso came into hand and you made the comment like, "Oh, that Onso looks scary." And it gets discarded and it was in fact scary, but not because it dealt in, but because it like affected the Rinshan.
Well, at least we'd have Rinshan Pow in this league, because that would be a disgusting way to pay out Baimon.
Oh, that's true. God, that would have felt awful. We do have Sukansu Pal, right? Although I doubt we'll ever see that.
I have no idea. That's such an obscure rule. I don't think it's in there, but I know Dai Sushi and, of course, Dai Sangen are. I don't know on Tsukatsu. I have to look that up. But regardless, any other closing thoughts?
Yes, if you are not already, make sure that you have followed our Twitch here at the American Ricci Twitch channel. Just click that little heart. You can also follow us on Twitter if you want to know whenever a stream is going to be happening at American Ricci. All of our commentaries are eventually uploaded and kept on YouTube. So I mean, at this point, we have, God, I haven't counted, but I would imagine close to it's hundreds and hundreds of hours of English Mahjong commentary content. So I'm probably getting close to the biggest repository of English Mahjong learning that you could find just about anywhere on the YouTube at tinyurl.com/ARMLYT. And then if you are interested in joining the American Ricci Mahjong League, please go check out our homepage. That's americanricci.org. Sign-ups are open for the, what's the next season? Autumn? I don't remember how seasons work. I believe it's the fall.
Yeah, it should be the
And
fall season.
so you can still sign up for the fall season. This is the summer season that has started, so it's a good time to jump on board if you enjoy what you see.
All right. The other thing I would say is the World Ricci Championship tournament, online tournament, is going on right now. It does require a paid subscription to Roan, but that's about $8.50. And if you're in there, you can always have a chance of seeing some of the people here. I've already seen Sylvie twice. So uh, if you want to do that, that'll be running basically until Sunday morning, Japan 23:59 in the evening. So for us, that's going to be 11 a.m. Sunday morning, and those are basically games ongoing. And if you're interested, I'm posting a link in the chat. And it is English language. If you need the plugin, there is a plugin. The newest one does work with Roan, or Roan 2, as you may hear it also called. And aside from that, this is Korak along with Ennui for the American Ricci Mahjong League signing off. Have a good night, everyone.